This is where it was getting hung up before. And we're live. I mean, we will be any second. Yes, it worked. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, hello everybody. Hello out there in YouTube land. Good to see you. So the reason we came to you late is because, whoops, sorry. The live streaming app was, we'll go around and say hi in a second. The live streaming app was just updated. Oh, I forgot, I don't have to do that. And so we had a couple hiccups getting into it and getting it working, but now it's up and running. So let me clean up my desktop a little. So here's the live streaming app. A bunch of things were fixed in this. One was it would change, when trying to use the live streaming app, the app would, if you had a schedule, this was all about a scheduled stream, by the way. So I pre-schedule our streams. It would change it from public to unlisted without me knowing. And so that is now fixed. That's not happening. The second thing is it was just getting hung up. It wasn't starting the actual stream. It now is doing that. And I can see the chat coming in and I can probably chat back out. Although now it's not letting me. So I'm not sure what that's about, but, okay. Well, I can also, I have right here, this is new, where I can tell Zoom what view I want to send out. So right now I'm sending out speaker view. This is, well, I can't, yeah, there we go. So now I'm sending, and so in about 15 seconds, hopefully it'll switch to, unless, am I spotlit? Let's unspotlight me. Yeah, I'm gonna unspotlight me just so we can see what's if this is gonna work. So now I just asked it to, let me change it to gallery. For some reason, the clicks are not clicking. It's interesting. It takes a double click to switch. So I've now changed it to gallery view, and now it's switched. I just saw it switch. Okay, let me go back here. That is interesting. It does take, you can't just toggle between these. It's a double click to get it to switch. And okay, now it's interesting. So I now have it on what looks to me like this. What is that actually? What is this middle guy here? This is speaker view. This is gallery view. I assumed that this was that new multi-speaker view, but maybe it isn't, because it's not, doesn't seem to be doing anything. But that's all right. I'll go back to this.
It would only have multi if someone else talked.
Well, no, it would multi-view. If you toggle to multi-view, it changes the layout of your page. It won't on mobile, but it'll, even if no one else is speaking, it'll change the layout of your page. All right, I still can't chat here, which is, I don't know what that's about. Not that I really need to, but I can see how many. There's that. Every button here is double click, which is really interesting. I can turn on, can I?
David, you're still gallery on YouTube?
Yeah, sorry. Oh wait, I am?
Correct?
That's interesting because I clicked on speaker view. Maybe that's not speaker view. Hold on, let me so now I switched back to this middle guy, which again, I'm not entirely sure what that is. All right, so the middle guy, I guess, is speaker view. So I'm not sure what this one is. I'm gonna click on it again just to see what happens. Oh, Andy is chiming in, and I'm not getting, the chat is not coming through anymore either. So the far left button is follow my view, then speaker view next to it, then gallery view. The hover states aren't showing. Are you using Synergy? I'm not using Synergy. I have it installed, but it's not turned on right now. I'm just using the app. I do have two computers here. I'm using the Apple, whatever that's called, where they talk to each other. All right, so follow my view means that I'm right now in gallery view. If I switch to speaker view, and then in a moment on YouTube, that'll switch over also because I have it set to follow my view. Yeah, so now I can see, by the way, follow host view. If you hover and then sit there for a moment, you'll get it. So follow host view, speaker view, and gallery view. Oh, look at that. And now the single click is working. Before I had to double click. So maybe that was a mouse issue. Maybe that was a mouse issue. So, all right. And now I can chat also. Huh, that's interesting. Hi there. But I'm still not getting other people's chats. Interesting. The last chat I got was from 301 from Tony to Mike. So the chat seems to have stalled, but the other stuff is just so cruel to blame the mouse. Well, maybe it is. What do I know? So
David,
yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
if you use that gallery view and then someone gets spotlighted, does it automatically shift like as it would in a regular meeting?
That's a really good question. Let's try that. So I just changed it to gallery view. So we're going to let that kick in over there. And then I will spotlight myself. Hold on a second. Okay, so now we're in gallery view. I'm now going to spotlight myself and let's see what happens to the stream. This is the live streaming app made by Zoom, available on the Zoom Marketplace. Thank you, Mike, for saying that. So far nothing has happened over in YouTube land. So it looks to me, Lois, like I have complete control over here. In the live streaming app. Yeah, nothing's changing.
Yeah, it's gallery currently.
Yep.
Which means that you are also under greater pressure because not only are you doing the presentation, now you have to remember to change to speaker view because spotlighting is not going to work.
Well, what I did notice, David, when you did start, is that I didn't notice you were on Spotlight, but you were spotlit.
Yeah.
Because the app had you spotlit. So it actually kicked it out temporarily, and you did kick in again as spotlit when I did it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So there might be something overriding that. Again, I would open that up to our infamous Andy from Zoom.
I'm wondering right now. I'm wondering about Lois's question because it's a really interesting one. On the one hand, we wanted to decouple the view that's sent out on a live stream from the host view, or I'll just say I did, because I want to look at gallery view, but I want to send out speaker view. But if
David just chimed in, or Andy just chimed in. David, sorry.
Yeah. You have three choices. Let Zoom manage it for you. Pick speaker view and stay there no matter what, or pick gallery view and stay there no matter what. Right. Auto versus manual. Sure. So what Andy is pointing out in the chat, and thank you, Andy. What a blessing it is to have so many experts here, including Andy. I mean, God, how lucky are we? So what he's pointing out is that there really are two states. There's let Zoom handle it or you handle it. The let Zoom handle it is this guy over here. This guy here, follow host view. That's the let Zoom handle it. The downside to let Zoom handle it is the host has to be in the view that you want to be going out. And so if I want to see the gallery view, but I want to send out speaker view, I can't do that. The other two options, speaker view means that, and my gut is that, although there's been some really interesting conversations about this on Extra Hours, actually, on about thinking about showing other folks in your Zoom meeting for reaction. It's been a really interesting conversation over there. So speaker view essentially says, I don't want to worry about it. I want to be able to switch and do whatever I want. And Zoom is just going to keep sending speaker view out. In that case, if I spotlight someone, it'll work. It'll still work, because by default, Spotlight throws you into speaker view. The one where it gets tricky, Lois, and where it does make it on you, put it on you to manage more, is if you're sending out gallery view for a particular reason, and then you switch to speaker view, which I could absolutely see me doing. I could absolutely see for production wanting to send gallery view and then wanting to immediately go to a speaker. In that case, you're absolutely right that you now have one extra step, and that is to go back and click it here, or as Andy said, keep it on follow host view and then let Zoom do it for you. So I still can't, I'm still not getting the, I wonder if I refresh the app, because I'm not getting the chat, I wonder if that'll screw something up. Should I try it? I'm a little nervous. Gentle. All right. I don't know what this is going to do, everyone. So if you're on YouTube, stay there. We'll come back. But just because the chat isn't working, so I'm going to refresh the app. Okay. I think we're still good. I'll say something in the chat. Hi there again. And that has not come through the chat yet. And I don't, can someone throw something in the chat for me over on YouTube? So I can see if it comes up for me. Hello, David. Message after refresh. Nope. So something's going on with the chat. It does look like it's still, I mean, it's like it's still working. Because it's not showing me the views and things like that. Restart? No, I don't want to do any of that stuff. Let me, hey Andy. Let me switch to gallery view, see if that does anything. Nope, okay, so that worked. So switch, so I am definitely still controlling the meeting from the app, but after a refresh, it's not yet, I don't remember what was here, but it's not yet gathering the count and it's not yet gathering the chat. And by the way, that could also be a YouTube thing. I mean, it could be a million different things, but all right. Well, we don't have to stay here all day. This was our big experiment of the day. So it's working. We're streaming to the right place. Yay, Zoom. Nicely done. And let's just let's say hi to folks real quick. Wait, don't show that again. It's being live streamed. Okay. Hi, Mike.
Hello there, Mr. David. How was the week?
The week was good, and it got so much better when I saw that our esteemed Tony Mobley is going to be interviewing you. Is it next week?
This Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah. Next Wednesday. Beautiful. Love it so much. Fantastic. And
I'll let Tony speak more about that.
Speaking of our esteemed Tony. Hello, sir.
Greetings. I am excited, and the team is excited about Mike being on, and we've had a lot of conversations, so I'm looking forward to Mike being on, and it's going to even be a broader conversation than we originally thought. So looking forward to that, and that's kind of where we are. So there's a lot of excitement, and we're going to make sure that the Zoom Test Kitchen members, if they have questions, we're going to make sure that Mukana is available so that they can prick Mike's mind and and ask him some questions.
Love it.
So we're looking forward to that.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
If I may say, I still hold the record as the first guest on the Tony Mobley Show.
Absolutely.
You were the
That's
first.
right. The very first.
I was like 40th or something. I'm like the second child. I'm the middle kid. No, yeah, I know, Hasmuk. I agree.
Yes. Yes, he was the original guest and turned me down at first, but then changed his mind. And I'm so thankful that I'm so thankful that he did. And he had a legitimate reason for turning me down because it's like 2 a.m. in his time.
That's
two or
a
3 o'clock in the morning.
reason. That's a very
Yes.
good reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good. And I'm gonna come back to you, Tony, because I want to get a report on how last night went, because you were doing some Zoomy stuff last night. So I'd love to hear about that. Let's just finish making the rounds here. Hasmuk, how are you, sir? L'chaim, as they say in the old country. Hey, Ray, how's it go? Oh,
For Ray's information, this is just Coke, Ray, nothing strong.
Ray, how you doing? Ray's got the strong stuff.
It's all well. It's all good. We still haven't moved into the studio yet, but
No, but look at you. This is like, now it looks familiar to me.
yeah, missing the tree over here because I have a high enough ceiling that I can fly the hair light. It hasn't been mounted yet, but I'm encouraged and happy to be here. My only issue is that I'm pushing the limits of this M2 Mac Mini M2 Pro, and it's heating the room.
Don't buy anything yet.
Putting out 118-degree fan heat out of the back of this thing, and
Wow.
it's not acceptable. So it's going on the market as soon as the next attempt comes out.
I can't wait for the next attempt. Although it's a little concerning to me that it's going to be smaller because of the heat and the fan, as you were just saying. But
Really
who
disappointing.
knows?
And being a PC guy, the solution in the PC is, of course, it's easy. My giant PC is liquid cooled, and so I don't get the same problems.
There you go. As we continue, just a quick update. Andy's suggesting that there's something up with YouTube's delivery of data to me. Probably not something we can control. That makes perfect sense. And Leslie Booth has a really interesting question in the chat, which we're going to come to later. Leslie, I just want to go around and do the rest of the hellos. Hi, Frank. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks.
Everything going well with you?
Sure. Why not?
Sure, why not? Fantastic.
That's very Canadian. I'm just saying. Sure, why not?
Hi, Lois on the phone, dragging us all down to 720. She's
Oh.
dragging us all down.
Would it help if I turned off my video?
No, not at all. The fact that you've joined has dragged us all down, and we love you for it.
It's a Zoom question. If a phone turns off their video, does it change the stats?
No,
Oh, okay. Anyway,
because the issue is what you're receiving more than what you're sending.
so I'm here. I wanted to show off my T-shirt. It says, check daily, water is needed. And that's one of the aphorisms from our radio show, the Davis Garden Show. And one of our listeners made us some swag, and this is it. So
That's so nice.
you got ZTK swags. I got radio show swag.
I love it. Now, Lois, I have to ask you a controversial question.
What?
Because anytime someone joins a Zoom with me and they hold their phone in portrait mode, I force them to turn their phone.
Okay.
So, see, now we can see you.
But now it's going to shake because I haven't got a stand or anything.
Oh, that's fair.
So
That's fair. You do it however. Oh, that's even better. Upside down. Oh, no, sorry.
there we go. Let's see if I can find a spot that'll be pretty stable.
Love it.
Maybe
Love
I'll
it.
just turn off the video so I don't shake you guys too much. I wouldn't
Whatever
be
you'd like
getting
to do. Ray is dying to jump in here. What's up, Ray?
I was on Lois's radio show.
Really?
Mhm. And I was on Tony's show.
Well, okay.
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah, right. Tamara, how you doing?
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to see you here.
My gosh, it took me a while to figure out how to get back in because it's been so long.
I see you in the chat of Extra Hours. You and me, we're like, I think we're the groupies, the original groupies of Extra Hours.
So excited to be there.
I am.
I love the format of that so much.
Yeah.
And it's like so less intimidating than everything else office hours. I started volunteering on office hours and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even.
That's awesome. That's great. By the way, there's a new show in the works, not official yet. But,
Is this your eCam thing?
This may be my eCam thing. It's not about eCam.
No,
but
using eCam.
Yeah, there may be a new show that we're working on. So
I love that. I'm excited.
Hopefully, yeah. And I'd love for all of you to join me on it.
Maybe I will know more by then to be able to help more behind the scenes.
Roland, good to see you. Oh, your name wasn't updated. I apologize, Roland. I'm sorry. And Dan is here. Hello. I don't want to pick on the folks who have their cameras off. I want to respect you. But Roland, it's good to see you. And Dan. And who am I missing? Am I missing anyone? No, I think it's it. All right. So we played around with the live streaming app. I have actually a few questions that stacked up for me over the course of this week, but this is a really great question. I think that Roland asked in YouTube. He said, is there a way for Zoom? I'm sorry, Mike, I'm supposed to pass this to you. Do you want to share this one?
Sure. It's again from, I'm just trying to find, Leslie Booth was asking actually Andy in YouTube, is there a way for Zoom when in speaker view mode to only switch view if the speaker has a video on?
So just to test this, I'm going to turn my video off. So Mike, can you go ahead and speak, and then I'll turn my video off and I'll speak, and let's see if it switches to me.
All right. And I am speaking to everybody.
Now I'm going to take over, and I don't have my video on. So if we watch did it switch over to a blank screen for everyone in Zoom?
In
Yes.
Zoom, yes, we see your logo.
And now on the stream also it did.
Yeah, on YouTube it came up with just your name as it usually does.
Right. So the question is there a way to kind of, it's almost like unique, it's almost like the ISO feature of unique speaker, but the filter is has video on. Anyone know? In YouTube, yes, it went to black. Yeah, Andy's just confirming. I don't think there is.
Yeah, David, say the question again. Sorry, I was just...
Sorry. So the question is there a way for Zoom when in speaker view mode, which is what we're in, well, it's what's showing on YouTube right now, speaker view mode, to only switch the view, only switch to another person if that person's camera is on. Right? So if Mike or Frank or Tamara were to speak, or Hasmuk, the camera would switch to them and their camera's on. The question is, if Tony and Ray have their cameras on, they're on black screens essentially. But if someone doesn't have their camera on in Zoom, is there a way to filter those out from the switching?
Yeah, I don't know about the streaming thing, but I know in our regular meeting, when I go to spotlight someone, when we're introducing ourselves at the end of our meeting, then the people we always have to do the people on the phone last because they don't show up. Are you talking about phone or are you talking about?
No, we're just talking about in general. In general.
Just camera off. Well, I'm talking. Can you see me?
No, but your camera does come up. Now, you know what's interesting, and I just thought you just made me think of this, is that I always turn on hide non-video participants. I don't want to see I don't need to see them in my gallery if their camera's off. That's not helpful to me in my workflow. But even though I have that turned off, when you speak, you do come up. You do take over in speaker view. And Andy is saying that there is no way to hide non-video participants at this time. But if you want to hide them from gallery view, you obviously you can turn that on in your settings, but not, let me open that up so we can see where that is, but not from speaker view. That would actually be an interesting ad. Where is it here? Video. So here is always display present names, stop my video when joining, hide non-video participants. That's what I want. I don't want to see them. And I don't hide self-view, but I also don't check show me as an active speaker when I talk, which sometimes can throw me a little bit, by the way, because I'll be speaking and I'll still be looking at the last person who spoke, because that's the default behavior. But I don't really need to see myself.
And does that carry over to the stream as well?
No, everyone else can see me. I just can't see myself. Everyone else can.
And the stream is following your view, you said.
Well, no, it's good point. It's not following my view. It's following my view vis-a-vis. Am I looking at gallery or speaker view? If I choose that, it's not following my view regarding my choice as to whether or not to show myself as the active speaker. The only thing that it follows is my physical view of the screen. But that's a really good.
David, don't forget you're also in dual monitor mode.
Which means
that you have a different display on your prompter versus on your PC monitor.
And which one does it follow?
I just wanted to make sure that Lois understood that you're also in dual monitor mode too.
Right, but dual monitor mode, I mean, dual monitor mode and single monitor mode, we all see the same thing in the first monitor. The only time that we don't see the same thing in the main monitor is when we're screen sharing. That's the only time it's different, as I understand it.
Or when you're on a phone.
Right, I'm not talking about a phone at this point. Correct. Yeah.
Question, David, what happens if someone joins you by telephone, not by a video phone at all?
They call in.
They have no camera, period.
Right, if someone calls in.
Yeah, or connects without a video.
Well, we know what happens if they connect without a video. If they connect without a video and they speak,
connect without a video is different than turning off your camera.
Oh, okay. I don't know. You want to call?
No. I'm had trouble enough getting in here. I came in like 10 minutes early just to make sure I could do it.
All right, let me see. I have never called into a Zoom before. I honestly don't even know how to do it. How would I do this?
If you go to the shield that shows you the information about our meeting, there is something there that tells you invitation, and in the invitation, there's phone numbers.
Okay, let's see here. I can't see that at all. All right. The invitation.
Maybe you should get someone else to do it, because it's going to take a little while, and you can run the meeting in the meantime.
Oh, you can run the meeting in the meantime. Wait, hold on a second. No, it's not there because actually all we have here is the copy link. You don't have the invite in here. Numeric.
That's what I mean. You'd have to open the invite and then find the phone numbers. So it's more complicated than just one button.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, David, where you would normally see it in most situations is it's in the invite where as long as you have it enabled, of course, to allow people to actually connect via phone.
Right. Well, let's see if I do actually. So meetings, personal room, because this is a personal room. Audio, telephone and computer audio, dial from United States. Okay. So everything is here. Copy invitation. Here it is. All right. One tap mobile, dial by your location. All right, here we go. I'm dialing by my location. I don't even have a phone. Where's my phone? Here it is. All right, I am dialing by my location. 1305 224 1968. I've never done this before. This is so much fun. Wait.
Followed by pound.
It said, welcome to Zoom, enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Let's not let him in, Mike.
Please re-enter your meeting ID.
What's the meeting ID? Is that the
Look
It's
at
on-
the shield.
Look on the shield. It's on your screen.
wait, hold on. Oh,
Well,
there it is. It's
Enter
the,
your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue.
I don't have a participant. Let's just do pound.
David,
Yeah.
if you go up to your shield, there is a
You are
numeric
in the
version
meeting
of
now.
the task.
There are 12 participants in the meeting. You have been added to the waiting room.
Yes, you have.
are muted. You can mute or
Oh,
unmute
wait,
yourself
wait.
by
Be careful to turn off your
Okay.
mute your speaker.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. This is like,
Hello,
what's that
David.
movie? Okay, so I muted my phone, so you all shouldn't hear that now. We're not getting an echo, are we? No. Okay, so I'm now in the meeting as a phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unspotlight myself. I'm going to mute this mic, my main mic, and I'm going to just talk on the phone. And let's see what if I get what do you call it? What's that called? If I get pushed to speaker view. Hold on.
Promoted.
Promoted, thank you. All right, here we go.
Can't hear you yet. Still can't hear you.
I clicked
David,
to unmute on his phone.
Okay. Okay, sorry. I understand. So you have to press *6 to unmute. I didn't know that because I've never done this before. I'm sorry.
And we see
so-
you on the screen.
You see who?
A green circle with a telephone receiver at the
okay.
little squiggly
Good,
line.
good. Right. So that's what happens in speaker view then. How do I mute?
David, I have a choice here as a co-host to have you merge with video. I wonder what that means.
That means that the same person is in the meeting twice, and the Zoom can optionally combine them, so the video is coming from one place and the sound from the phone. And some people
No, but
have to do that.
I just merged.
But
the
I'm
two.
not in the meeting twice.
No, now you're only showing the your camera, but we're hearing your audio from your phone.
Showing what camera?
It is
I'm so
something that
confused.
people with poor computers need to do. I don't think you should do it because you're trying to be in here 2 different times and it recognized you, but we should probably not merge you.
Too late.
David,
He already did.
I
But
clicked on.
you know what I don't understand is
I jumped out of that because I don't. What account am I? I'm not logged in as.
Well, it knew it was you, David. It told
So,
me. It
Here's
told
what's
me the phone call with the picture, and I did, and the phone call went away.
right. So let me just. So this is strange. So I'm in this meeting right now with 2 accounts. I'm in with my Zoom Test Kitchen account, and I'm in with a production account that I use. Now, both of those are part of the same org, but they're completely different accounts. I called from a third account that's neither one of those. I specifically made sure I was logged into an account that wasn't one of those 2, which is also part of the org, but I don't know why. I don't know what it combined it with.
Check the chat. David, check the chat.
If you enter your participant ID on the phone, it links. Okay, well, okay, the much more important chat message is from John Drinkwater, who's ordering me a pizza. Thank you. Why? Could you see my phone number? Is that what's happening?
Yes, we could.
Well, thank you for that. I'm at 18801 Northeast 22nd Ave in Miami. Please send your pizza.
And money.
And money. So if you enter your participant ID, which I didn't.
It must have recognized something from what you typed.
All I put in the meeting ID. I'm gonna try. Can we try this one more time?
But your Zoom account is registered and has a phone number attached to it, and that happened to be the phone that you used.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be my thought as well.
Is that it recognized your participant ID in this meeting and attached it to the phone that it already knows.
And you don't need a participant ID. It's the phone number that's being connected, because it's the same phone number as is on his Zoom account.
So I'm going to call from another phone number now. How's that?
David wants to put another phone number out there.
He's determined to thwart Zoom.
And don't merge him this time.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, Lois.
So this is actually through a
Frank
Google
has
Voice.
a question while we go through this. Jump in, Frank.
Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
So
Okay,
normally when
second.
someone dials in by phone, it obscures part of the phone number. And I saw the entire phone number, and I'm not accustomed to seeing that.
ID followed by pound.
That seems like a security risk to me.
It is indeed.
12 participants in the meeting.
All right, we see your phone number,
You cannot talk.
and I got the 3 dots, and I can admit you, which I'm going to do. So mute your live mic, please. You have been admitted.
I always see the entire phone number on the meeting that I'm part of. I think it has to do with the setting that the organization made, Frank. So I think your organization was just more security conscious.
I'm the one who made the settings. It's just it was so long ago I don't recall. I'm looking it up right now, but I would encourage you not to expose the entire phone number.
Now, David, your phone number came up, and I have a choice to ask to unmute. I have more, which is merge with video, which Lois said don't do. Pin to first screen, second screen, rename, put you in the waiting room, or report you as a bad actor.
Rename sounds good.
Do you want to vote on what it should be, Lois?
No,
So
I
I
mean,
just
to
unmuted
hide his
my-
phone number.
So I just unmuted myself. You know what's interesting to me is I don't know how anyone is supposed to know how to unmute themselves. It as it happens, it's *6. But there's nowhere on the invitation is that information. And on the phone, it doesn't tell you to do that. So I guess you have to wait until the co-host invites you. Frank.
So I'm a little confused why you're having to dial the phone number. If you get an invitation on your phone, let's say through email, and the host has enabled one-tap dial, you should just click on the link and it should dial the number for you.
If I click on the link,
If
won't it
one-tap
open-
dial is enabled in the invitation in your account settings, then you don't have to dial anything. You can just tap on the
No, but my question is, if I tap on the link, won't it open Zoom and take me into into the
Yes.
meeting that way?
It will.
I think it presents you with a choice. Because one tap dial is supposed to save you from having to enter all the digits manually.
Okay,
But,
so let me copy the invitation and put it on my phone because that's not how I did it. I just typed it in.
but it assumes that you can get email. And if you're dialing in from your home phone, would you really have email on it in order to click it?
That's true also. Right, so let me go into, so I'm going to jump out again.
From that, and I'm going to go into. Oh, that's not me. Okay, this is someone else.
Boy, we
And
sure
I'm-
have digressed, haven't we?
All right, here we go. No, this is okay. So join Zoomy, one tap mobile. So I see the, oh, you know what I should do? Sorry, I can bring this up on my doohickey here so that you all can see what I'm seeing.
Hi, Pete. Welcome.
Do you see? I see. Hi, Pete. Okay.
We're dialing for dollars today, Pete.
We are indeed. Okay. All right. So here's what I'm seeing on my phone. So I took the invitation and I put it over here. So I've got the one tap mobile. I'll go ahead
Except
and-
that this is going out over YouTube with your phone number.
No, that's not my phone number.
Okay.
No, this is,
Good.
I mean, this is just it's the phone number for this meeting.
All right.
So one tap mobile.
It has your phone number after the one tap mobile.
No, but that's the number of this meeting also. So don't worry about it. I'm not.
All right.
So the buttons that I get are call that number. Let's see what happens when I call that number.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Oh, that's all it's doing. Okay. So I don't know if you all could hear
Enter
that,
your
but
participant ID
hold on, let's
followed
see if
by
it does
pound.
this.
Otherwise, just press pound to continue.
No, it didn't. Okay. So what all that is doing is it took the dial by location phone number. It put a pause in there, as it were, right? So that the phone, two pauses, right? And then and then it auto dials the meeting ID. That's all, and it puts in pound. That's all that did. But yes, so I can do that right from here. That's not a problem. Frank is saying our one-tap mobile links are designed to work with iOS devices, do not typically work on Android. Right. For this reason, viewing an invite in some email and calendar apps that do not support HTML will cause issues. Gmail or Outlook apps will work well. Yeah, so that's what this is. But the fundamental question, the question that we really started with this was, if someone dials in, has no camera attached, and they are speaking, will it change to their speaker view? And the answer is yes. And the answer is there's no way to put a limiter on that so that it's just people with cameras on. Hey, Frank, please.
Just as a point of interest, if anyone cares, you can buy an add-on for your meeting, for your plan, that allows you to dial out. So you can dial from a Zoom meeting out to a telephone. If you get a calling plan, like a Zoom add-on for calling.
Why would you call out to a telephone?
Imagine you wanted someone to join your meeting who had a phone and you wanted to call them from the Zoom meeting instead of them calling you. You could do it. It's a possibility.
Is that part of the Zoom phone plan, or is
No,
that
no, it's an
a
add-on.
separate add-on?
It's an add-on for meetings.
Huh.
It's very useful if the people that you're trying to get a hold of happen to be someone who is not tech savvy.
I'm sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Here's,
David, I could actually see it as well in the house of worship market, where if you are in a retirement home and you want to make sure that the retirement home has access, at least via audio at the retirement home, that you're able to dial into a phone number there.
So here are the add-ons. Interesting that audio conferencing.
Yeah, I think it's called audio conferencing.
But what this says, dial into meetings with phone numbers from around the world. I mean,
You can do that. You can set up a toll free for that too, I think.
Oh, is that what it is? It's a toll-free number. No, but here it is. Expand your call options with call out,
Yeah, call out is
global
what I.
toll-free, and local dial-in for premium countries. Because we already have dial-in, but the global toll-free is.
But also the dial out.
And the dial-out, yeah. Huh. $100 a month. Nice. That's a nice add-on. Thank you for that. That's great.
And since it's a monthly charge, you can just get it for the time you're going to have your meetings and then stop it.
Was that monthly? Wait a second.
Most add-ons are
gosh.
yearly or monthly.
I thought that was $100 a year. That's $100 a month.
Yeah, but some of that's the toll-free premium countries and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's a bundle basically, right?
Yeah. That is quite expensive though.
Well, if you're going to buy an add-on for getting up to 500 people, it might be that you're having an annual conference and you need it.
Right. And you're absolutely right that if you just do it monthly, if you just do it for 1 month, then yeah.
I really feel Zoom skews towards corporate more than individuals, so these prices aren't a big deal for corporations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Nice. Hey, while we're here, here's a question that came up for me. It was actually a question that was asked, I forget where, I think Ray chimed in on it, but in our settings, our Zoom settings, if you go into video and then advanced, these guys right here, optimize quality of the video I send with denoise, optimize quality of the video I receive with super resolution, hardware acceleration for receiving and sending. Do you all turn these on? Like, are these?
It's very specific to your graphics card and a few other factors, and it can cause problems as well as solve problems.
Really? Because I mean, I just checked them all, but I don't even know
Yeah,
what kind
but
of graphic card I have.
it's not just the cards, it's the drivers. I should have been more comprehensive. But for some people, it makes things better. For some people, it makes things worse. And it's one of the places you go and turn things off when you see things like gray boxes appearing on your screen. You would probably try turning off hardware acceleration.
Interesting. It says use hardware acceleration. It's basically moving the processing, it looks like it at least, over to your GPU from your CPU. Again,
David,
this is...
I put into chat what I actually see, which showing you the PC perspective.
Oh, nice. Hold on. I have it open here. Let's see. Oh, wow. Yours is much more detailed. Look, that's interesting. Look at that. So here they are back to back. Let me close all this stuff and this. So you've got Mac on the, I'll make myself big in a second. You've got Mac on the left and PC on the right. PC, you've got optimize, the denoise, that's the same, super resolution is the same, but then you all get to decide. You have 4 options for hardware acceleration: video processing, sending video, virtual background, and receiving video. We don't have virtual background or video processing.
Right. And just to make sure that everybody understands, too, that is based on my PC's hardware.
Oh, so not everyone would see these depending on their hardware?
Not necessarily, but all those capabilities are there.
Oh, interesting. And then video rendering method. What are your options under video rendering method?
It gets pretty technical, but I'll do it anyways. Because again, it's more specific to the Windows world.
Can of worms.
We're talking about Direct3X if you're into gaming, and also GDI.
Okay, all right, you lost me. Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about anymore. Okay. Wow. Okay.
But very PC specific.
Yeah.
Also a place where you can try to resolve video issues in your Zoom meeting if you're having a lot of them, but guessing, not knowing is hard. It's nice if you have the ability to get Zoom support and they can tell you what the best settings for your hardware is. Zoom has a built-in trouble ticket report, which sends all your system specifications to Zoom. And then they can advise you on what the best settings for your particular hardware and operating system are. But that is a place where people often get directed to fix video issues.
Do you think it's a safe? Do you think it's safe to say that if you've got a beefier computer, then these make sense to have on? But if you're maybe working with a smaller unit, then you want to keep them off?
I think that's fair in a general kind of way.
In a general sense.
If you've got all you've got is integrated graphics on your motherboard, then you probably can't take advantage of some of these things, and having them on might even cause you problems.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah, Lois, go ahead.
So my takeaway from all of the chat that you all have been doing is that if someone is setting up an account and they're coming into Zoom, it's their first account, I would say don't mess with the settings. And if there's something that goes wrong with your computer and you need assistance, then maybe some expert would tell you X, Y, or Z. But in general, I think the less you mess with the default from Zoom is probably the safest.
And to be clear, these are hidden under advanced. So I think the vast majority of people would probably not even think to look there. In fact, it's by default when you open settings, at least on the desktop, because you can't resize the setting windows, it's actually hidden. You can't even see it. You have to physically scroll down. Sorry, I'm not showing this. You have to physically scroll down in order to get to the advanced part down here. So at least on Mac, that's the case.
Have we ever discussed sending a trouble report through the application to Zoom? I put a screenshot of how to get to it, but
let's do it. Oh wait, that's Mike's picture again. I don't want that. Wait, I didn't see your picture. Where's your picture?
it's in the chat. Unless I sent it to TGS Production. Sorry, I did.
Sorry.
Your companion thing changed,
Sorry.
and I didn't. No, it's okay. I just didn't pay attention. I'll do it again. All right, everyone should see it in the chat now. Sorry.
Great. It's okay if I share it on YouTube?
Go ahead. I don't care.
Okay. So here is too many screens. Bear with me a moment. So up at the top, you've got help, report problem. So let me go ahead and do, why can't I make Zoom my active? Sorry, I'm trying to actually do this, but I can't get Zoom to be the active. This is weird. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Zoom, I can go up here to help, report problem. And now here's...
Can you make that bigger?
Yes, I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Let me do that again. So as long as you've got Zoom Workplace up here so that that's your active app, go over to help, report problem. Then this will bring up, I can't move it. That's kind of annoying. Report problem, with which product you're having an issue. I won't actually send this, but what problem type would you like to report? Join meeting, audio quality, video quality, screen sharing, recording, dial in, or others. Let's see if, no, there's no, I was wondering if there are contextual menus, but there aren't. So tell us about the problem you're having. You can add an attachment. You can capture a screenshot, which is built right in here. So I can come up here. This is built in, so I just did a screen. It basically saw my screens and it allowed me to choose where I wanted to do a screenshot, include log file, I have an open ticket, and submit.
The log file is super helpful to the person at Zoom who's going to get your ticket. If you don't know what drivers you have installed, if you don't know what your operating system version is, if you don't know, it goes through your computer, collects all that information, and then the person at Zoom can look at that, look it up in one of their knowledge base databases, and they can say, okay, we know there's a problem with that kind of graphics card or those drivers, and it'll be a faster resolution for you, and they'll be happier because they don't have to ask you 1,000 questions.
And that is ticked by default. So don't untick it if you're ever sending. That was good. That was helpful. Thank you. Nice. Hey, Pete, how are you? Are we still, yeah, we are. We're still, I'm just checking the live stream. Why? That's interesting. Sorry, I'm just checking live stream to see if it was still following the set, the setting that I had, and now it's like scrolling. What is something's going wrong with the stream, or is it just me?
I'm seeing everything okay, David. Tell me more.
I'm not sure. It's like Ray hasn't spoken for a long time. What
I'm
is
sorry. Go up to the player, and sometimes the player will be in the past more than the future. Just hit the live button.
Oh,
Then you
wait, there's a
see-
live button? I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's normal in the YouTube player. If you
Oh,
go
live.
There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even know that. Why would that be off by default? That's interesting.
it happens as soon as you leave the page. It's a
Oh,
browser thing.
really?
Yeah, it happens to me all the time when I'm flipping here too.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. I got distracted by that. I was saying hi to Pete. Hi, Pete. Yep. You're good. We're waiting for you.
Is this working? Yes, it is working now. Okay.
It's working.
I didn't have a mic plugged in.
Oh, my Lord.
I'm like,
my-
oh, I just got one in the mail from Amazon.
You all see the new Shure mics that came out? Was it just yesterday, I think? The
Like one of these?
No. No, the MV4, which is an XLR mic, and the MV6, which is a USB mic, both cheaper. The MV4, the XLR, I believe, was like 200, and the MV6, I may be getting the numbers wrong, forgive me, but the MV6, or the letters wrong, which is the kind of the USB one, is 159.
I got this one in the mail, which is pretty simple, is what I was looking for. Like $10.
That's a
And it's-
mic? Oh, yeah,
that's
it's
a
a
mic.
lav. Looks like a, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's got an 1/8-inch stereo connection on it, and for what I use it for here, is all I need. I mean,
There you go.
I use this mic for special work, but for talking on Zoom, I use a simple one.
Nice. Lois. Oh, it's the SM4, I think, and the MV6. Lois, did you want to jump in?
It's just, it's hard finding things on this phone. Yes, I do. I wanted to ask Frank about how long it usually takes for someone to answer one of those requests. I mean, what's your turnaround time usually like?
That's hard to say. Would depend on the type of account you have, and you can pay extra for premium support. They have different levels of support. So I can't say. It really depends on your situation. But you're going to get a faster resolution if the agent has more information to start the ticket with. I work on a ticket system, and I help people all the time, and I spend hours waiting for people to tell me things like, what's your operating system? And I'll ask them 3 questions, and they ignore the 2 questions I care about the most, which is something like, I'll say, like, what's going on? What's your operating system? What version of Zoom are you using? And they don't tell me 2 of the 3 things. And then I have to ask again. If the system collects all the information, it's a lot easier for the person trying to help you to get started.
And then my second question is to David. How can someone send in a question if they can't be physically with us during the Friday game?
Right now they can't, but there's no reason why we couldn't set up a simple form
Discord?
for that. Yeah.
You could have,
right. No,
you
you're
could-
absolutely right.
You could create a sub Discord. I don't know what
Right.
the
A Q&A.
called
Yeah.
called show questions, and
Yep.
people could submit them in advance or something.
We could do them on Discord. We could do it as a form. Yeah, there are lots of different ways. We absolutely could do that.
We could. Will we?
Shall we?
I don't know. I think that it is polite to those people who can't be here at that time that day. But if they're not generally here, they probably don't even know we exist.
That could very well be true. Tell you what, I'm going to
Maybe Tony can lend us a little bit of his Makana.
What I would suggest is if a person shows up to the meeting, they get priority over people who don't show up. And it'd be nice to have like a mailbag for when it's slow and we don't have anything to talk about. But I would much rather answer Lois's question if she shows up than someone who parks a question on that. We could just answer you in the forum.
So there,
Sorry, the Discord.
Yep. So Dan is asking if there is a Zoom Test Kitchen Discord, which there is. I'll pop the invite in the chat here. And I also just made a new channel called Questions. And people can absolutely park questions there. If you're not
What's
on
the meaning
Discord-
of life? Can I ask any kind of question?
That's right, exactly. If you're not in Discord and you have questions, just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to.
And of course, David keeps forgetting to let everybody know on YouTube, go to zoomtestkitchen.com.
Yeah, there's a link there to join the Discord also. Thank you. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I have another question. I was wondering if we could talk about alt hosts and host keys for a little bit. I just rediscovered this week. I'm not sure why, but so in my office here, there is we host a meeting every month, and none of us run it. We have an outside person who runs it. So all we need to do is open the Zoom, and the administrator here is not very tech savvy, so she asked me, and I literally just open the Zoom from my phone, I pass host, and we're done. But I don't need to be doing any of that. I could just list this person as alt host, or I can just give them a host key, right, Frank?
They have to have a pro account, I think.
I have very strong feelings about sharing host keys, but I'll be quiet while Tamara's talking.
Wait, who has to have a pro account?
I think
Tamara?
in order to make them an alt host, they also have to have a pro account. That's how it used to
really?
be. I don't know if that's how it is now, but when I tried it a few moons ago, I had
Alt host?
my other person had to have a pro account too.
There's
I thought they
two
had to be in the same account.
Yeah, there's two requirements for having an alt host. One is you have to have a paid account, so like a full license.
Yep.
And you have to be on the same organization as the person that is hosting the meeting.
Okay, so that's what it is.
And
so wait, I zoned out for a moment. I'm sorry. You have to have both people have to have a paid account, and they both have to be part of the same org.
Same Zoom license, yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's what it was that I couldn't use it. Thank you for clarifying.
So then host keys are the answer for people outside of the org.
I totally against
I
host
agree
keys.
with that. Do not go down that road,
So
David.
wait, talk why?
Okay, so I use
Wait. Let Frank argue why first.
Well, no, let her argue first. She'll probably say everything I'm going to say.
All right.
So the host,
Mike, I think we can let Jeff in.
the host key is useful if your meeting is open, so someone else can join the meeting when you're not there. Well, that means that you can't have a waiting room. You can't have it timed so that that nobody can get in or you set it so they can get in 10 minutes ahead or whatever. And then when the person gets in, anyone who has the number can claim host. And we do it all the time because we don't have very sensitive situations, but it does mean that your meeting is more open than people usually want it to be.
But
Did
you
I
don't
get that
need-
right, Frank?
But you don't need host key for people to join your meeting before you do.
No, but in order to claim host, you have to be
Right.
in the meeting without the
Right.
host being
Anybody
there.
can join a meeting that's open, but no one will be the host without
Right.
someone claiming that host.
Right.
Okay, so Frank, what's wrong with host keys? And then Roland is asking, can't you just reset the host key?
Yeah, definitely. So there are a few times where I would suggest a host key has value, but there are also many issues with sharing your host key. It's like giving someone the PIN to your online banking. Most people don't go after the meeting and change the host key to a new host key, which is a very good security practice. You're basically, if that host key gets out and you're the kind of person who never changes your host keys, talk about Zoom bombing opportunities and other kinds of malfeasance. The Zoom key, host key should be treated very carefully from a security perspective. I also think, I don't speak for Zoom, I don't work for Zoom, but I could see where Zoom could make an argument that a lot of people are using host keys to avoid for paying for licenses that they should be paying for.
Because you don't need to have a pro account to.
That's right. And it goes
become
against the
the
terms of
host.
service. But that's just my opinion. But I
Interesting.
never give anyone my host key. But I can see limited circumstances where it makes sense, but then do good security hygiene and go back and change your host key after the meeting's over.
The
Can
person,
you have
go ahead, Tamara. You're muted, Tamara.
Tamara, we can't hear
I'm
you.
sorry. Can you have different host keys for different meetings, Frank?
Yes.
Or is it just one host key is your host key?
One
For
host key.
meeting.
So, okay, now I heard two answers.
I heard Ray. Hey, Ray.
Hi. One host key at a time. It's attached to your account. It's on
So
your
it's not
profile
meeting,
page.
it's not
That's
meeting
what I thought.
specific.
For
It's
meeting.
account specific. Yeah.
Correct.
For meeting, though. You can change it for a meeting.
You can change it anytime. When you change it for anybody to access the host key. So if, for example, and I see this a lot on the Zoom community, people go, usually I'm there and I start the, AA meeting or the church meeting or the whatever meeting, but next week I'm not going to be there and I want someone else to be able to take command and be the host control. And so from my perspective, don't ever put your host key out on the internet where anyone can use it, but send it via email to one trusted person that you know is going to be there and say, here's the host key. You can use it next Tuesday night because I'm not going to be there. Frank, not to poke fun at you here, but you're not giving away the key to everything. You're giving
No,
away
I understand.
grab host role for that meeting. Now,
I think they're misused is all I'm saying.
well, I think there's a lot of misuse. There are people who transfer accounts back and forth between people until they hit the transfer limit, and then they ask, "How come I can't assign my accounts?" But
That's very true.
assuming, and I make this very clear when I answer people on the Zoom community. First, I try and get to understand what their particular requirement is. And if it's occasionally I can't be there and I need someone else to be there, I tell them this is a good idea. If they go, I don't want to have to pay for a second account and I want to leave my meeting open all the time and I want Fred and Sally and Mary to be able to start the meeting and be a host anytime, I tell them, look, you're violating the Zoom's terms of service and sorry, I can't help you. Go somewhere else. But when they do give me a legitimate reason, and they are not on the same organizational account, I tell them host key is the way to go. Just change the host key once a month or once a quarter and only give it out to people that you really trust.
I can agree with all of that. It's the last part. People never change their host keys after they share them. And that's why I'm kind of like, it's a bad security practice.
So
So let me
in a
just jump real quick, Lois.
Sure.
Let me just jump in here to show folks where this is, and I can show you the host key because it's not for this account anyway, and I can just change it. So this is I just logged into one of my accounts, and I'm on the profile section, and if you scroll down under meeting, this is your host key right here. This little winky eye guy is what lets you reveal it. And then to change it, there is no reset button, but to change it, you click on edit, and then you can put in, whatever number you want.
And that edit button is behind you on the screen so people can't see.
Oh,
but
goodness, I'm sorry.
If you go way off to the right, the edit button is way over there.
I apologize. Yes, the button is way right here. Click edit, and then you can, and I will change this after the meeting. Or after I turn that off. All right. Yeah, go ahead, Lois, please.
So our situation where we do use host key a lot is where it is a club, a group. The meeting is owned by the group, and we take turns running a particular meeting. So the people who are coming in are all members of the group and know what they're doing. It's sort of like making someone a co-host. The powers are about the same. What can you do when you're a host of a meeting, but you're still not the owner of the meeting? You can't go into the settings for the entire organization and change things. You can just do what a host or co-host does in a meeting. So I had not realized that it was for the entire organization, that every meeting in that organization had the same host key. Now that I know that, that makes,
No, that's not true. Everybody's host key is unique to themselves, not for the organization.
Well,
if you've got 10,000 users, they don't all have the same host key. It's different for each person.
Okay, there's only one person, there's only one.
Yeah. Then you're only going to have one host key.
But for multiple meetings, so if there are 3 meetings, you're saying it's the same host key for every meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct, because it's not meeting specific, it's
Right.
account specific.
And that's something I hadn't realized, so
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind for future. But the use of the host key is something that you need to give only to trusted people. I mean, you would never publish it or something, but okay. Well, thank you for the discussion.
Yeah.
There's one other thing that I'll mention, and that is there's some requirements to use the host key that we haven't really addressed yet. And one is that it can't have a waiting room. The other is that you have to turn on join before host. So as long as those two criteria are met, you can do this. However, when you use the join before host, there are a couple of settings that you can drag in the pull down. Then you can say join before host 15 minutes before it's scheduled, 30 minutes before it's scheduled, or any time. It's the any time piece that really gets people in that abusing state, that we leave this particular meeting so anybody can start at any time, and then they can do the host key and get in. If you've got a meeting that occurs Tuesday evenings at 5 p.m. Eastern, and you set the join before host to 15 minutes before, in that time frame, 15 minutes before and the scheduled time plus the duration, if someone comes in and there's nobody there, they can become the host. If they join the next day, they can't even get into the meeting because the meeting's not even open to them the next day.
So Ray, let's just take a step back, because what you were just describing was making me think again about, Lois, what you were talking about, which the question you asked, which is about, is the host key meeting specific or account specific? Because what you just described, Ray, that whole process of allowing someone to enter the meeting before the host, that also is not meeting specific. That also is account
No, it's
No, it's
meeting
meeting.
specific. When you schedule the meeting,
So I'm here scheduling a meeting,
sure.
and
In
is
the
it on the next
options?
page maybe?
In the options,
Yeah. Oh, allow person to join anytime. I apologize. Okay. After scheduling meetings, things you change here will apply to all scheduled meetings with the personal meeting ID. Okay. But where's all that 15 minutes beforehand and stuff?
well, it used to be in a drop down box right there, but Zoom moves stuff around and I can't keep track of it. Scroll up a little bit, see if it shows.
Maybe up here, you think?
If it's a, gosh, it used to be right up there. Well, you have waiting room turned on. So turn off waiting room, turn on passcode. I don't know, where did it go?
Huh.
There's a search button. At the
Um,
top, there's a search.
No, but that's for Zoom. That's not for this page.
Well, yeah, but you can search on Zoom to find the thing you want.
David Wolin was saying to make sure to, when you add the passcode, hit save. It might do something different.
All right, so now I'll go back and edit. Allow persons to join anytime. No, there's no, That
If you allow them to join anytime, then you don't have the option of before a certain time. You have to schedule the meeting for a particular time.
No, that's what I've done.
Yeah, but then you said join anytime. So if they
But
join
that
anytime.
was but that was my only option. That's what I'm saying. That there is no option for allow them to join a few minutes early.
Ray or Frank, I'm wondering, is it because he's using his PMI?
No, I'm
That's-
not actually. Well, you're right. Okay, so let me change that. No, I still don't see anything. Huh.
Try saving again, David, and see what happens.
I wonder if there's something in settings that I have to do also.
It's under account settings, Dan says, under admin.
All right, let's do under account set. Well, let me check these first. So join before.
So I just
Allow
did a quick
participants-
search and it says to allow custom join before host time limits, check the participants can join. Maybe that's where you said it. I'm not sure where to
Okay, wait a
find that
second.
though.
So first of all, allow participants to join before host.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
one's
even
not
have that turned on. Why?
right.
That's odd. It allowed me to do it in that meeting, even though I don't have it turned on a settings level.
So you can override it, so.
But
No,
I don't know what you get if this switch is not enabled. What does the other checkbox do for you? That I don't know.
No, so if this switch is not enabled, then we get what we were looking at before. So here's my meeting. We get to edit, and I can still say allow participants to join anytime. But what I don't understand is why would it even give me this option if I don't have it turned on an account settings basis? If I do turn it on over here, then I get participant can join, and that now I can.
How many
set
minutes before time?
Right. 5, 10, or 15 minutes before start
They've
time.
changed that, and I don't know when, but back, I want to say 6, 8, 10 months ago, that ability to choose was meeting specific, and now they've made it global.
Right. So now I'm back in this, and now I have allow participants to join anytime, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So again, it's interesting. On the settings, I specifically said 15 minutes. And by doing that, I now get the drop down here.
Yeah.
That's a little strange. That's a little bit of a UI.
It's probably the default.
Right. No, it's not actually.
Yeah.
Default is anytime.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And-
this
and
is
that's
one of those.
that's the one that I recommend people don't use, is the anytime.
Right.
So this is an unusual situation where the meeting specific choices override the generic account
Yeah,
choices.
the settings.
And
Yes.
it makes sense that there would be some meetings you would like to have something in, but if you don't choose anything, your default is what your account settings are. So it
But
makes
it's not.
sense.
But it's not. That's my point.
Yeah,
Well,
it said,
it might have made a difference, David,
Because I
because you
chose it.
already had this meeting
Okay.
scheduled.
All
If
right,
you
let's
schedule
do
a
another
new one,
Let's do a new one.
so many permutations.
Show. Allow participants to join anytime. I still don't,
making-
wow.
Dan was making an interesting comment. He said, maybe you can join, but you can see that you will see that the splash screen saying your meeting will not start when the host joins.
Yeah, but you know what, folks? So this is interesting. Remember when you said maybe you can't do it on personal meeting ID? So if you're using a personal meeting ID and you have it enabled on the back end, you can allow participants to join anytime. But if you want to be able to use those settings that you did over there, you have to change it to generate automatically, and then you get your options. Now, it did default to 15 minutes before start time.
Yeah, when the meeting's created, it grabs the default.
Right. So it did grab that as the default, but it's interesting that you don't even, it's just it's a strange combination of pieces to get it to do what you want.
And the other thing that is unusual to me is that no one's going to be able to join your meeting in advance because you've got waiting room turned on.
Oh my goodness.
Ought to be mutually exclusive.
Right. That doesn't make any sense at all.
unless they have changed how waiting room works and that you can, while in the waiting room, claim host. That didn't used to be the case. I know some people have requested it, but I hadn't heard that anything had changed about that. By the way, someone said, if you go into a meeting and there is no host, then anyone in the meeting can claim host if they know the number, and that's absolutely true. But when the owner of the meeting, the person who originally scheduled the meeting, when they arrive, then they get to choose whether they're taking over as host or whether they're going to leave the other person in charge and become a co-host. So hostness gets pretty complicated.
I'm still a little boggled that I can allow anyone to enter the meeting when there's a waiting room.
I don't think it's a big deal. I actually like that feature. Quite often, I get busy with emails. So I'll join a meeting 15, 20 minutes before it starts. I'm happy to sit in the waiting room, and then I'll go do my email. And then when the meeting starts, it reminds me, hey, the meeting's starting. Stop looking at your email.
But you can join but you can join a meeting whenever, and you just get a splash screen that says waiting for hosts to start the meeting. That's the same thing as sitting in the waiting room. The whole point of this, to me at least, is I want to get into the meeting so I can claim host. But if there's a waiting room turned on, I can't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. 6.5 of one.
Something's
half a
broken.
dozen.
I'm
Some-
curious.
I don't think it's broken.
No, I'm curious though that you can't claim host the way Lois said through the waiting room, because I can think of a case scenario where I'd want to be the host, but I would still want to control who comes in. So like,
Well, that's waiting room, no?
no, because yes, but what you're saying is if I open it up to anybody, then anybody could come in and then I can claim the host, but I go into a meeting and people are already there because they can come in whenever they want.
Right.
So that's the question, is there has to be a way, which is maybe why they're not exclusive, is that I can claim host and still have a closed meeting. So not everyone else can get in, but I can go in, set my room up, get everything ready and invite people in.
But you can't get in. That's the point.
If waiting room is turned on, there's no way for anyone to get in.
No, that's not true.
Yeah,
The
I don't
person
think-
who made the meeting automatically gets in.
Well,
And
the
then-
owner can get in.
Well, of
I
course.
agree.
That's
We're
right.
talking about the join before host option here.
Well,
Yeah.
you join before host, it means you're sitting in the waiting room, just like Frank said.
Right, but
Right.
that's what we're saying is that defeats the whole purpose. The whole point of that. Yes, it does.
Not in the
whole-
waiting room, because you're not able to do anything. And the idea is don't allow just a bunch of gaggle of people to get in the room, and then the person comes in with the host key who gets the key and discovers that the people that are in there are not desired to be there. What do
Right.
you do then? And at that point, Tamara,
You
you
move
lock the
everybody
room
to
and you
waiting
boot
room.
people back to the waiting room,
Yeah.
or report them, one or the other.
So if I'm the owner of the meeting and I allow 15 minutes ahead for people to come in, and then I don't announce that, I just tell you, okay, Ray,
Right.
you're gonna run the meeting this time. And when you get in there, you claim host and you immediately turn on the waiting room. And when
Yes.
anybody
Got
else
it,
shows
got it.
up 10 minutes ahead or whatever, they go in the waiting room. So
Yeah.
I can see how
That's
both
my
is
advice
good.
on the Zoom community a lot too, is advise your substitute host to get there early. And if you really want to control, have them then start the waiting room after they've claimed
Got it.
host and go from there.
So
If
there's
I
one more
have-
thing.
Wait,
that-
hold on. Sorry, real quick. If I have a pro account,
Mhm.
can I add other free accounts to my org?
Yes.
So then why wouldn't I just use alt host, or it doesn't work because they're not paid accounts?
They're not paid accounts.
Yeah,
They're
you
not
didn't
paid
meet
accounts.
both requirements.
That would be the way to solve this. Is if
So-
I could.
Yeah, Zoom's not
Right.
going to do that.
No.
So
Lois and then Tony.
the one other way, which y'all probably won't like to hear about, is that the person who is going to, so there's 5 of us running the meeting. The person who is going to run the meeting that day signs in as the organization. And then
But then
they're
you're
the
giving them your
hosts.
yeah, but then you're giving them your username and password to,
That's right.
to the kingdom.
And
Oh,
And
yeah.
this is an
that's against the
organization.
Zoom terms of service.
That could get your account banned if they figure it out.
Yep.
For the organization to have
Yep.
more than one person?
That's right.
No, for
Oh.
more than one person to have the credentials to
Yeah.
use one account. If you're going to have multiple people logging into Zoom, they each need their own account.
But we don't want them logging in with their own account. We want them to log in with the group account.
So you need
There's
one
no
person,
such thing as
one
a group account. Right.
And-
There's no
and-
such thing. It's a
Yeah,
group
and
from
account.
a
that
legal point
person-
of view.
Can schedule meetings and can hand off the host key. And if you want to buy another account, you can have alt hosts and you can do those sorts of things. But the reality is, you should not be sharing credentials for one login among multiple people.
Okay, well, the computer set up in the church meeting room is the computer that gets logged on for every week's meeting so that we can have people on Zoom participating in worship. And there are different people sitting in front of it every day, but it doesn't matter because it is the computers is owned by the church.
That's not what Zoom's licensing requirements say. They say that every user has to be a named user with an account,
Right,
not
and-
a generic computer.
So I appreciate that, Frank. And I just want to, I'm not saying I agree with this, but what Lois is describing is exactly what every small house of worship and every small whatever does. They have right. I mean, we have
And
one
it's
here
registered, yeah.
Right. I mean, we actually have for not in my org, but in my temple's org, we do have multiple accounts. But then we also have the streaming account, if you will, or the meeting account, which is the one that we use when we're in the sanctuary for all of our things.
And I would say briefly, I certainly don't work for Zoom and I can't speak for Zoom, but for someone who has a dedicated use for one account and uses that account for that one use, and they happen to have a yellow sticker somewhere that has the username and password to log into or whatever on that one machine, I don't think Zoom really cares that much about that sort of thing. And I've never heard of them going after somebody. What I have heard is that a half a dozen people all rely on Fred, who's got lots of money and pays $14.95 a month to have an account, and gives the credentials out to everybody he knows and just says, oh, just go in and use my account. That's And Lois's and some of the other examples are somewhere in between that. And you have to
So-
figure out where are you nearest the hot point and the cold point and how Zoom treats those.
So what I'm hearing is that to be legal, the 5 of us would have to each have our own paid account, and I know at least 3 of them do, and then log on to the meeting, claim host, and run it. Because then we wouldn't be violating the rules. Is that true, Frank?
Let me
Yeah,
see if I can
Frank.
unpack all of that.
Yeah, Frank, is that true,
I
Frank?
just know what the Zoom terms of service say for section, I think it's 1.2 or whatever it is, which is that every person is supposed to be a named user with their own license, and you're not permitted to share licenses. And I agree with Ray's assessment. Like, is Zoom coming around and getting everybody? Probably not. But it's within their rights, probably, if they feel, and they're the sole arbitrator of what they feel is right, and they can cancel your account. You can file an appeal, and you can hope that they see it your way. But you agreed to it. You signed a contract that their lawyers wrote. You have almost no power once they've made a decision, unless you can convince them.
So to make sure that I'm understanding, the agreement says that the person who bought the account will not share login stuff. But that since there is a host key, they must allow other people to host that meeting if they can get into it.
Not a lawyer, but I think, as Ray said earlier today, the host key doesn't give you control over the whole account, but the account credentials give you control over the admin section and everything else in that account. So the host key is, for a meeting.
Just for a meeting, right?
Yeah.
I want to bring some other voices in. I also just want to share so that we all have it in front of us. It is 1.2. Frank gets a cookie. You may not share an account, host rights, or any other user rights with any other individual unless otherwise expressly pre-approved by Zoom in writing. Excuse me. You may not share any login credentials or passwords regarding the foregoing with any other individual. You acknowledge that sharing of any such rights is strictly prohibited. Your right to use or access the services and software is personal to you and not assignable or transferable. You may not assign or transfer any account, host rights, or any other user rights without any. So I think that what Ray said and Frank agreed. If this isn't about having a church shared account, as it were, that multiple people can log into to start services. That's not the issue. The issue is when multiple people are using it for multiple different purposes. But let me grab I think it was Pete and I don't remember. Dan first and then Pete, sorry.
Oh, well, Pete had his up first, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Dan.
At the university, that was one of my first questions. Was before we had a site license, we had hundreds of licenses. And I said, can I move these licenses? Of course, you can move the license from anyone you want, because then that person doesn't have the license, so that was one thing we were doing for a long time, and that got to be a lot of work. But I mean, the same thing with our webinar licenses. So instead of you can move the webinar license to anyone on the account, but there's a lot of things tied with a webinar, and that is registration and sometimes ahead of time and all. I know I'm going down a different rabbit hole here, but that's another thing. So that's what I do is I move the licenses. But with the webinar, I just created 2 email accounts. They're not named people, but I created 2 email accounts, the webinar 1, webinar 2 at our university. And we just give those credentials to the person that's going to host a webinar.
By the way, Mike is bringing another piece into this, which is in that case, Dan, or the cases we've been talking about, should we be talking about a Zoom Rooms license instead of a personal license, which is another question. Let me just get Pete in and then Frank, and then we can come back to Mike's point.
So, let me tell you a good example of why you shouldn't have two people using the same account. And this happened to me with one of my clients. I go into their location, I run their webinar. All of a sudden, everything shuts down. I'm off Zoom. I didn't know, we figured it was the internet maybe had a glitch and that was it. And so we had to cancel the whole event. Come to find out a few days later, the account information that I use was shared by someone else in the same building. And so that person used it to start a meeting. Zoom shut us off. The first meeting that was run on that same account for some reason. So,
Well, not for some reason. It's
well,
because you're only allowed to have one meeting
Yeah.
at a time with a certain kind of license.
Yeah,
And if you
so-
start another meeting, it shuts off the first meeting so that you only have one meeting instance going at a time.
Yeah, so the system figured, oh, okay, someone is redoing the meeting here and bumped us off.
Well, and to be fair, normally it generates a pop-up that says you already have a meeting in progress. Do you want to cancel that one and start the new one?
And that's what that person did.
Yeah. Frank, go ahead.
I just want to talk about something Dan said. Zoom, and this scales differently if you've got 10,000 licenses versus if you have 20 licenses. If you transfer, let's say you transfer your Zoom licenses, you have 50 users and you only have 10 licenses. If you transfer the licenses too many times in a month, you lose the ability for the rest of the month to transfer licenses, and you have to wait. Sorry, go ahead.
What do you mean transfer licenses? I'm
So,
sorry, I don't.
So let's say you had
Fred to Mary.
Yeah, let's say you have a license, for an employee and they quit and you hire a new employee. And you say, okay, that person's gone. I'm gonna remove Mary from the account and I'm gonna give that account to Susan or Paul or whoever. That's a valid use case. But if you are trying to avoid paying for 50 licenses because you have 50 employees and you buy 10 licenses, that's a different situation. So what Zoom does then is it watches how many times in a month you transfer licenses. And there's a threshold. When you pass that threshold, you lose the ability to transfer licenses for a month, I think it is. They won't say specifically what the time frame is. It's a cooling off period. And you'll see on the Zoom community forum all the time people doing this and then mad because I have 3 available licenses and I can't transfer them to anyone else. That's because they've been transferring around the licenses too many times, passing them around like, the keys to, the cottages or something.
Fascinating. Yeah, rate limited, as Ray said. Thank you. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Tony and Dan, please.
Well, I actually have a use case. The house of worship that I work with, we tried to add me as a user on the account to be able to host meetings without the principal person who holds the meeting, the license, the paid account. And we were not able to, we had to buy an additional license, and that's the way it works. You have to buy an additional license. And so I had a paid account. They wouldn't let me connect my paid account to the church's account. So I had to use, I already had a free, so I have a paid account and a free account. So I had to use my free account with the church, and then the church had to pay for the free account to become a licensed paid account.
You should be able to link. You should be able to port a paid account over from org to org. That
doesn't exactly work that way.
No,
you can invite.
We were not able to do it.
Yeah,
we were not able to do it, and we had a lot of different issues, and a lot of times, the person who actually needed to do the interface with Zoom to make sure that everything worked properly. Just didn't have the time to be on to talk to technical support. So we tried it for 3 months and we still couldn't do it. But one of the things that ended up happening is that the 5 gigs of cloud storage that you get with the account, I continue to get updates on the fact that the account is, 104% overflow. And so it's kind of funny, that I continue to get that message, but they it's very difficult to manage an account if you are not if you don't have a paid license. And we were also sort of guilty of the thing that Lois was talking about, that the pastor's daughter who holds the account is in one location and her daughter is in another location. And so they would sign in with the same credentials, and we would have trouble from time to time. Meetings would end. There was a lot of different things that would happen. And so I would encourage anyone that's in that situation to go ahead and get the paid accounts, and you alleviate a lot of different issues.
Thank you so much, Tony. Dan.
The only thing I was going to add, and I think Frank's completely right, maybe education plans have a little bit difference with the licensing, and I would run a report which is inside the admin reports of who's not using their Zoom licenses. So if it's like you say 30 days, 60 days since they've hosted a meeting, those are the licenses that I would move from person to person first. And I don't know what else I was going to say about the webinar part, but I forgot I don't know if it's Frank or Mike that said something about the webinar, but anyway, I forgot.
My question actually was related to Zoom rooms for small churches.
Right. And I think that's a great question, because I, to this day, don't fully understand Zoom rooms. I mean, maybe what we all should have done instead of buying a personal plan is purchase a Zoom room for our synagogues or our churches or our mosques. Yeah. Ray, go ahead.
It's interesting. I got an email in the last couple of days about a new, I want to call it Zoom user configuration.
I saw this. You posted about this.
Yeah. Was not previously available. And that is, and I don't think it's specific just to pro accounts, but it was certainly targeted at pro accounts, I think, and probably applies to certain other type accounts. And I think Frank and maybe Dan, if you guys work with educational accounts, that you can make a basic user on your account for no charge, and they can host meetings for up to 40 minutes, and they can do those sorts of things. They now have a box that you check to make someone a basic user, but if you don't check that box, they're totally only able to join meetings. They can't even schedule their own meetings. There's a lot of stuff
called
that they
unassigned.
Unassigned license, right? But which I know is kind of interesting.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we have SSO turned on, so when
So do we.
a new employee or anyone goes to our page, they just get a Zoom account, basic account created automatically. So
Nice.
they can, and then I can move the licenses or so.
We have a lot of basic licenses, tens of thousands of them, and we use them because in our particular situation, recovering Zoom licenses, it's very hard to automate that when people leave your organization. So what we do is we make them basic users for a year, and then if they don't reclaim their license, then we purge them. So we use the basic licenses as a holding tank because you can still recover them if the person needs their license back if they if it's a mistake or whatever, you can recover the recordings, their meetings, you can recover everything instead of just deleting them wholesale. Then you can't recover stuff. But most of you probably will never have to deal with that, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So David, when I was talking about Zoom rooms for small churches and such and small setups, I was just wondering if anybody has, instead of just getting a pro license, done Zoom room license instead, and good or bad either way, or do you need a pro to have a Zoom room license, or
I'm
is
not
it
an expert on Zoom rooms, but I know that in some circumstances, Zoom rooms can be authenticated against things like your Microsoft LDAP or Active Directory, and then they need an account in that system that isn't a human. Like it's not saying it's your account or Sue's account; it's the Zoom Rooms account, and then it can receive emails and do calendar bookings and all that stuff. So I think it depends on your authentication system too, right?
I mean, Zoom rooms. So here I brought up the boom boom. First of all, it's $500 a year, which is significantly more than a pro plan. But I mean, there's a lot here that you can have up to 1,000 meeting participants, 3 displays, 10 room controllers. I don't even know where that stuff is. You get intelligent director, smart gallery. I mean, you get a lot of stuff for this. Interestingly, you only get 720p. Look at that. That's kind of interesting.
I think you can get more. That's probably the base.
Yeah. But then along with all of this, you have to also purchase hardware, I believe.
Well, I mean, Zoom Rooms is tailored towards people who are going to use commercial grade AV equipment, and it can speak to the equipment. So if you have AMX or Crestron or other kinds of controllers, then those devices can say, okay, when someone logs into the Zoom meeting, put the projector screen down, dim the lights, turn on the ceiling mics, do this, do that. So it's geared towards commercial level AV equipment as well, right? So it's a different animal than what we're doing.
Yeah,
So
it wouldn't be useful just for sharing accounts.
Okay, so then Zoom Rooms probably is not the right solution for this.
You might be able to use it. I'm just saying it does so much more. It's like buying buying, I don't know, like a combine harvester when all you need is a lawnmower or something, right?
Right. No, I understand. Yeah.
and what I'd be curious about going forward too, because I know Andy and the team in the background are also working on Zoom Rooms Pro AV. So this is the Pro AV. So that's Zoom Rooms on steroids is what I would call it.
But there's lots of Zoom appliances for Zoom Rooms, like Logitech Rally bars and all the other ones out there, and you can use Zoom Rooms with those, and that's a lot lower threshold. Like maybe you're talking a few $1,000s for an appliance, and then you can still use it in the ways that I've described. So
technically, the Facebook portal was a Zoom Rooms device. And the only reason I know this is because when I went to port my pro account over to a business account, I couldn't because Zoom thought that I had a Zoom Rooms device or account, which I never signed up for it. I never asked for it, but I had been using a Facebook portal, which, by the way, I think it's a shame that they canceled that. I really like my Facebook portal TV. So it sometimes you have a Zoom Rooms without even knowing it. Pete, go ahead, and then Lois.
Who was saying it? I think Frank was talking something about recordings. Was that, or did I misunderstand that about recording? You record something on the cloud and then it disappears or something.
I mentioned it in terms of the church has overused the cloud recordings. And incidentally, one of the things that I'm doing right now is that I'm doing all the recordings for the church, and I'm doing them on my MacBook Pro. I need another solution actually, because I'm filling up hard space, the hard drive on my MacBook. And at some point in the future, I hope that I can talk with the group about some solutions.
You know, the cheap solution,
So-
the cheap solution is to stream it to YouTube.
Or plug in an external hard drive.
So
Right. The
the
nice thing
issue
about YouTube
is
is that then it's shareable right there. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
With the hard drive, obviously, you're right. That's
so the issue for us is that only the sermons are sent to YouTube. The rest of the services are a part of the recording. And there are a lot of different reasons why that's the case. It's not that there's anything that people would not want out there. It's a matter of a lot of times people are sharing stuff that is extremely personal. And for that reason alone, they don't want it on on YouTube. So I'm the record. I do two recordings actually. So I do a recording of the sermon, which I send directly to YouTube, and then I do a recording that is the full service. That's everything. And so I'm running out of space now. I've purchased two hard drives, but I need to probably purchase 3. So, and I want to. I'm going to stop talking so that the gentleman can finish what he was saying. But at some point in the future, I'd like to talk to the group about a solution that I might need to come up with.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
So something came to mind. I've mentioned this a while ago, and I'll mention it again. 2020, I purchased a webinar account for 2 months to do some streaming. After the time was up, I canceled it. And they give you the warning they're going to delete the cloud recordings. Well, I downloaded everything and I didn't care about the recording. So at the end of the 2 months, my account went back to the free account. 2021, same thing, set up 2 months worth of webinars back to back. When I got in the system, the recordings from 2020 were still there, even though they said they were going to be deleted.
That's what we've experienced. Ours was supposed to have been deleted, but I get every month, I get a notification. Let me take that back. It's not every month. It's 2 or 3 times a week that I'm getting a notice saying your cloud storage you have used 104% of your cloud storage.
Now, have you got in and deleted stuff?
It was supposed to have already been deleted.
Yeah.
If it hasn't been, you need to take some proactive action and delete it.
They're not guaranteeing they're going to delete it. They're saying you can't rely upon its being there anymore. They may not have gotten around to the housekeeping, but you can't count on it. So I agree with Ray. Just go in there and delete what you don't need, what you've already downloaded. Yeah.
Really isn't an elegant way that I've seen to back up your Zoom recordings. Jeff is writing, by the way, welcome, Jeff. It's really nice to have you here. But he just shared that they use both cloud and local recording, and then they back up from Zoom from Zoom Cloud to Dropbox automatically.
Yeah, Dropbox will copy
a connector app, which I'd be interested in learning more about, by the way, because I searched for a long time for a way to get old past videos out in bulk, and I could not find a way to
Dropbox won't do that. It's for once you do the connection, it's everything going forward. It's not retroactive.
All right. And these are all third-party apps also, because there's a YouTube one also, I believe, but it's all third-party.
The Dropbox one is actually an integration between Dropbox directly to Zoom. There's not a third-party piece. So you go into Dropbox, and there's a checkbox to say, do you or do you not want us to grab your stuff from Zoom?
Gotcha. Hey, Jeff. Yeah, but getting that stuff out is not, there really is no elegant, getting old stuff out, I should say. There really is no elegant solution to that.
And Tony, the thing that they just put in the chat from John Drinkwater is true. If you're over, Zoom is probably billing your house of worship for the overage. So you want to be sure that you take care of that and maybe look at the invoices just to make sure that they're not actually billing you for it. And reach out to me if you want some help. One of the things that most people don't know, and I've got a couple of clients who do this with me, is you can, as the administrator or owner of your account, send a request to me to be attached to your account as an external admin. And then, if you don't know the first thing about actually working in the Zoom product on an admin level, you can have somebody that you trust kind of come in and poke around and say, hey, there's all this stuff here. Do you want this deleted? Do you want this moved? And that sort of thing. And you can time limit that as well.
As far as I know, you can be a basic user and still be a Zoom admin. So
Yeah.
if someone invites you to the account and makes you a basic user, you can still be their admin.
Yeah. And one more thing I'll mention that I put up in the chat a little bit earlier is, if you have a webinar license, the webinar host can designate someone as an alt host. They need to be licensed, but they don't have to have a webinar license. So,
But do they have to be in your org?
They have to be in your org.
Be in your org.
And so one of my clients actually does that. Is they have a separate, a couple of separate paid accounts that he gives to various people that run webinars for them. They have one account that is actually licensed for webinars, and you basically go in and set that up, and you make, whoever's supposed to be the alt host, and then you can actually start the webinar.
And what you just described is kosher? The fact that he has these accounts and he passes them around to other people.
The account's not passed around. It's making an alt host. So if I am the host, master, the webinar master, and I've got 5 people that run webinars for me, I schedule them. When do you want? What do you want? I'll put them in, and then I make that person alt host for theirs, and I make that person alt host for theirs, and that person alt host for theirs.
Gotcha. But not needing the webinar piece is the key there. Yeah. Lois, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I want to change topics just a little bit. I usually come in on a computer. I know how to run that thing real well. I'm on Zoom on a phone. It's an iPhone, a nice phone. It's doing pretty good. But I can click and see chat, only it's vertical only. I would have to turn my phone vertical in order to do that, and that would mess you up, so I won't do that. So I thought, okay, I'll just save the chat, and then it'll be fine. I can't find any place to save chat on here. And then I got to thinking, it's a phone. You can't save anything on a phone. I can't record on my phone. I could send it to the cloud, but I couldn't record. So what is the Zoom Test Kitchen's answer to how does Lois get copies of the saved chat?
I'm going to pick on Ray. I think you'll know this one. If you're
I
not
know the
ready,
answer.
Well, I think the answer is no, you can't.
The answer is ask somebody who's in the meeting on a computer to save it and send it to you.
Okay, anybody out there going to volunteer to help me?
The difference there is that when you save your chat, if you direct message people, you'll get those. If other people save their chat, their direct messages, if they send that to you, will be in theirs. So what you need to do is actually ask the host if they're doing a cloud recording to get the chat out of there, which does not include any direct messages. And like if links were shared and that sort of thing, just get the host to send that to you.
There's another way to do it, which is if the host has continuous meeting chat turned on.
Oh yeah.
Then it would go to the team chat
which we do, I think. Do we?
And is team chat for just one meeting or is it continuous? In other words, I was in last month's meeting. Does that mean I'm in team chat for this month's meeting?
I think so. Thinks once you're invited, unless you're,
If it's the same meeting ID.
yeah, if it's the same meeting ID, I think unless someone throws you out of the team chat, you should still be part of it.
Okay. And because I'm on, if I were not already on the team chat, because I'm on a phone, is there a way that I can add myself to a team chat, or I can't do it on a phone?
I think it's more of a case of being invited to the team chat.
Yeah, you can ask the owner of the chat, who would be the owner of the meeting, to add you in.
Okay. So requested.
I have another mobile question, and thank you for bringing this up, Lois. So, but this is yours were actually good questions. Mine is kind of a dumb one. Okay, so here I am. I'm in this meeting on my phone, and I'm in portrait mode now. When I switch to gallery mode, I know we're getting the infinity effect, but don't worry about that. But I can't see all the icons on the bottom. I can't, there's no way to see it clear without that stuff.
I've got that one. First of all, in order to get from speaker view where you are to gallery view, you just swipe your finger.
that I
Okay,
know.
there you go. And then there's more people, so you can scroll down, and there you go. Now, if you stop touching your phone and count to 10, it'll magically disappear.
Okay, but I want it to magically disappear over here. So I'm going to leave it
Well,
on this view, and
So
then I'm
just
going to,
don't touch the phone.
I'm not touching the phone. I'm very impatient. This is really hard.
So
It-
basically what Lois is talking about, it eventually will do hide buttons.
It
Okay,
hides
see-
the buttons.
And I don't
Unless
think it,
you have set your settings some other way. Normally what I get from people is, everything's gone. I can't figure out how to do anything. And I say, touch my nose. Just look at the screen and touch my nose. Okay, now it all came back. I'm magic.
yeah, mine aren't going away, and I want
So-
them to.
So you must have your settings set on your, either your,
Yeah,
must
sure,
be
blame
on your
me.
phone. Yeah.
I don't,
Maybe double check the settings of your Zoom client on your phone,
So
I think is what
where-
Lois is meaning.
where are the settings on my Zoom client? Let's see.
First, you have to get to your Zoom client on the phone, not be in a meeting.
Okay, I'm on my Zoom client. Settings, general. Hide sensitive information, use call kit, organize tab bar. No.
I think you're in the wrong place.
Well, where should I be? Meetings. Let's go
Try
into
general.
meetings. Wait, hold on. Let's go into meetings. Here we go. I was just in general. So mute my mic, turn off my video, touch up appearance off, portrait lighting, no. Keep virtual background for all meeting, no. Aspect ratio original, HD, mirror my video, show video, picture in picture, advanced.
Also, always show
Here it
meeting
is.
controls you have checked.
Thank you. That was absolutely driving me bonkers. So
Now
now
have to be
there we
patient for
go.
5 seconds.
No, I don't even have to be patient. That's the beautiful thing. I just touch it and they go away.
How are you sharing your phone into the meeting?
I'm sorry?
How are you sharing your phone into the recording? Are you using AirParrot or something else?
No, I have
Reflector,
I have an Apple TV
Apple TV.
hooked
Okay.
up to to
Yeah.
my computer as a camera source.
It's a great way to do it.
So, yeah, it's really convenient, actually. Super convenient. Thank you, Lois. Oh my goodness, that has been bothering me. That's great.
Are you still using clips?
Yes. No, I am.
There's more development coming for clips. One of the things I heard is clips is going to get the ability to put chapters in the clips.
Oh, that's nice. I do use it when I need to demo something for someone. Clips is my go-to. That's what I usually do.
There was one other one I heard. I can't remember what it was, but tell me if this already exists or if I'm just imagining. I thought I heard playlists are coming to clips if they don't already exist.
I don't think they already exist. I did hear that they're coming.
Yeah. So chaptering and playlists are coming to Clips.
Smart chapters. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think manual chapters where you can make your own chapters, but you might start with the smart chapters and then just change them.
And Lois, before you disappear, I think Ray answered your question about chat.
Yeah,
Save in chat.
in the chat, I found one Zoom community article from back in 2022 where Bart, who is no longer with Zoom, says, unfortunately, there's no way to save the chat locally on Android or iOS version of the Zoom app. One of the things that you could do is turn on the recording of your screen and scroll through your screen, and it would save that to an MP4 file, and then you can watch that.
That's actually not a terrible idea. That's pretty
I've done
smart.
that before.
I've had a question to y'all. Now, we've been chatting away and I've been horizontal, as David asked me to be. When I went
you.
and looked at the chat, and I was seeing the chat, then when I closed that and it came back to you, and all of the gallery view was now vertical, and then it switched back to horizontal. My question to you is, when I popped out to look at the chat, did my window go weird?
I don't
I
remember.
wasn't paying attention.
Okay, I'm going to do it right now.
Yeah, do it
and
now. Do it now.
Do it now. Pay
it now,
attention.
Lois.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm looking at chat. There it is. I'm closing it. And you went
Yeah.
this way and then you went this way.
There was a
change?
brief piece, but
Yeah.
while you were looking at chat, you looked fine.
It
But
was
then
coming back.
as you came out of it, it went doop, doop.
Okay,
Just like
that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Pete has his hand up.
Question on saving chat. Is there a way, say I got a webinar account, I saved the meeting on the account, is the chat saved in there?
Are you
Can
talking
someone-
about a cloud recording?
Yes.
If you have it enabled, there's a bunch of check boxes on your settings for what gets done during a cloud recording. As long
Okay.
as you have the one to save the meeting chat in there, there is a text file with your chat in it in the cloud recording space.
And then you can like send that to someone if you need it.
It's a text file. You can click the download button and download it to your computer and do whatever you want with it.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. All right. So we're backing in. And Tony, I think you had other questions for us. Did you? I'll go back to you.
Actually, I have quite a few questions for the group. One of the questions is that with the recordings, and John, thank you for the suggestion of using Handbrake. If I use Handbrake, would I be able to put the recordings in a keynote? And the reason why I'm asking that question is we had a sermon that was probably about, I'm going to say about a month old, and I was asked to take off about it was about a 30-minute sermon, but they only wanted to use 15 minutes of it. So what I did was I uploaded it to YouTube, made it private, and then trimmed it down to the time that they wanted. And so once I did that, then I was supposed to put it in a presentation software, and the congregation uses PowerPoint, which I know nothing about. But I wanted to see if I could get it into Keynote. And this was yesterday, and I was having a lot of difficulty trying to get it actually low. It kept showing the link, and it would not allow me to actually open up the YouTube recording and put it in Keynote. So that was one of the things I was wondering about. And again, I do still have this issue of I have I'm going to say probably about 400 gigabytes of church recordings on 3 different machines. And so I know that, some of it should and probably be deleted. But I just felt it was my responsibility to make the recording so that if someone ever asked for something, that it would be available. And particularly in this particular instance that, the pastor is 94 years old. And anytime she's a part of the worship service or you hear her singing in the background or anything like that, I wanted that documented. So that's kind of where I am with stuff.
Yeah, go ahead, Lois, and then I'll come back and I'll actually give a little more input about handbrake for Tony. Go ahead.
Okay,
Lois.
so Tony, a couple of things. I have recently gone through something similar, trying to figure out how best to trim a video. And instead of going to YouTube, uploading it, trimming it, and downloading, which I used to do when I was doing the Birding with Lois show. But instead, what I have found, I'm on a Mac. You're on a Mac, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
So on Mac, there's a program that I use to watch videos called QuickTime. Well, when you go into QuickTime, you can trim the video that you're watching. And it creates a new one, so you have a new name. You haven't destroyed the original. But you can go in there and go up to the edit part and find the thing says trim. And then what it'll show you the things that you're recording. And there'll be, at the end of each end, there'll be little sliders that you can slide in. And as you click on it and hold it and slide it in, it'll show you what it is, where you are. So if you're just trying to trim the tips and tails, that is an extremely easy method of doing it. There is another program that I use a lot called Lossless Cut. And it allows you to do all that trimming. Plus, you can make several different segments. So if I've got a bunch of good stuff here, and then there's a little something I don't want, and then a bunch of good stuff here. And so I can have lots of different segments and just select the ones I want. And at the end, when I export, I have choices of what to do, one of which is concatenate all of the good parts. And so I end up with a video file that is all the good stuff and is not got any of the other stuff. Now, it is not quite as precise as you might want it to be because it's using what they call keys. So there might be like a half a second of something that you don't want, but the key is over there, so you can't really trim that. But anyway, it works very well. Both are free. I like them a lot. The other thing is when you're talking about how many gigabytes of storage you have of your videos, my question to you is, are you trying to get the absolutely best, biggest, recording, or do you want a recording which is good? And so the file size there's a great big difference in that. And I think they were talking about that on office hours recently about file size and why you can have a recording that is a lower quality. It's not 1080p, it's 720, and it can be a bigger file than the 1080 one, and it has to do with a lot of other things. I didn't follow all of that, but I do know that you are able to reduce the size of your files without losing any noticeable quality resolution. So I'd say take one of those questions over to office hours or to they have a Discord where you can ask questions and get help and stuff like that. Anyway, so that's my take on it, is trimming it and then maybe reducing file sizes.
Okay, so related to us talking about Handbrake for Tony. So basically Handbrake is a graphical interface for a program called FFmpeg. Now, FFmpeg is used quite a lot in majority of the industry. and it has been in the streaming industry for well over 20 years. I'll probably even say higher than that. And basically what Handbrake allows you to do is to take that file as you have it and convert it to whatever you would like it to be. Now, what I mean by convert it is it will allow you to change the current codec and audio video codec that is within the actual video file itself and change it to a different codec. So an example would be ProRes down to H.264. In this case, because you're already getting it as H.264 from Zoom and you've already accumulated X amount of gig, if not getting pretty close to X amount of terabyte locally, what I would suggest looking into is the next newest codec that is used quite often, which is H.265, or the open source variant, which is the X.265 codec. And in Handbrake, should have this capability. I know FFmpeg does have this capability, and it will actually drop your file size at least a third, if not 2/3 of the size, remaining the same frame rate, video size, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and audio quality, because really all you're worried about reducing is the actual video bitrate, not necessarily the audio bitrate, because audio bitrate is already very, very small. So basically what you just want to be able to do in Handbrake is tell the audio to copy, to be identical as the same is, and the video codec, change it from H.264 to H.265 and remain at the same resolution that you're at, and you will see a massive difference. But the quality will be identical to your master that you ended up getting from Zoom, from the cloud in this case, or from the recording as you downloaded it during your Zoom meeting.
Thank you for that. Do you know approximately how much it costs?
Handbrake is free.
Handbrake is free. Okay.
Yes. You got to love free. Can't beat free, as David would say, even though he's being quiet on us right now.
You can't
But
be
yes,
free.
so
I'm only being quiet because I was busy downloading Handbrake for free.
there you go. Attaboy. That's the way to do it. But yes, it is definitely, yes, I definitely approve Handbrake most 100%. FFmpeg has been around for, as I said, well over 20 years. It is usually the go-to engine when it comes to the streaming media industry. And chances are 9 times out of 10 that Zoom is probably using it hiding somewhere on one of their servers somewhere when they actually make that video file for you, or even accept our video streams coming in from our clients to the actual servers as well, because it does multiple different things. But just to make a comment about Lois saying about key, what Lois meant in the video world, they call that keyframes. So yes, you have to make sure that you can only do a cut properly on a keyframe. So again, if you have more control of the video file, which of course in this case we don't because Zoom has control of that, you can only go to the nearest keyframe. So you may have to go a little sooner than you might want to do on a cut, or you might have to go a little bit in. I would say go in a little sooner.
Mike, could you speak to the question of what file format, not codec, but format, one needs to use to be viewed in different places? We have come across a situation, which I think might be Tony's problem, where something which has been published, that is to say it's gone to YouTube at any level at any point, is then considered to be published, and Zoom will reject it for inclusion in sharing on a screen like screen share. So we've got a situation where there's the people in the national organization who want us to look at this little 7-minute video and then talk about it. And it's there, it's on their website. We can show it by, showing it from the website, won't run. So we tried downloading it and then showing it, won't run. I don't know whether Mac is paying attention or Zoom is paying attention, but somebody, when we start playing that, it turns the screen black and shuts off the sound for the listeners. So can you talk to that, Mike? Any possible knowledge about that?
Sure. Let me give a little bit of a stab on this because again, I'm going to assume that you guys are using Mac versus PC. So my knowledge will be a bit limited when it comes to Mac. I will say that. But let's go down the road of, as you were saying, codecs and containers, which is actually what we in the streaming world we call them containers, but they are actually what people will classify as video files or the file format.
Another good word is wrappers.
Yes. Yes. Again, Frank, you're showing your age there. There's my official answer to that one. But yes, absolutely. Yes. But wrappers is correct as well. So basically there is, the infamous Zoom format is MP4. So within the actual MP4 file, it has an audio codec and a video codec. So the audio codec by default is H.264. And the audio codec by default is, and I'm going to go off the top of my head and people can correct me on YouTube if I'm wrong, I believe it's Opus. It's either Opus or it's another audio codec. And Jeff, you might be able to help me on that one as well, from the music world. But basically, so again, if the player that you are using, the video player on your Mac in this case, does not understand those codecs, which it should, then it should play back. Now, again, if Zoom notices that it is coming from a source that is YouTube, I personally have not seen that before, but I have seen people actually show YouTube videos in Zoom. So I haven't seen that problem occur. But if you are downloading the video from YouTube, there are certain preferred methods to do so, and it could be the software that you are using to download the video, because the video in itself comes down into multiple. When YouTube actually sends you the video, it doesn't actually send you the full 100% file. It sends it to you in fragments. So it actually breaks up the file into X amount of fragments and each fragment is X size. So depending on the software that you are using and depending on the difficulty of that, it's not easy to download a YouTube file by default. There are certain software that has been able to go around that and allow you to do so, but I'm not going to mention that here because we are on YouTube. But let's just say there are software out there that can do this well. And it's not for the novice to be able to use. So again, if you are downloading using the YouTube download functionality, that's a different story. I personally don't do that myself, so I don't know what you end up getting there. And it could be that when you download something from YouTube that way, it could be actually giving you that black screen when you try to share it with Zoom. Go ahead, Ray.
Okay, let's get simple. Well, Lois, how are you trying to share this video? Are you using the share screen and advanced and video, trying to play it there? Is that
we've tried a number. We've tried that. We've tried share portion of screen, which is not optimal because it's
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the place where you were talking about getting the black screen and not any sound was
I wasn't doing it, other people were doing it, but they were trying to share screen and they tried several different methods. One was to share the video on the video setting. One was just to share the window that it would happen to be in.
So sharing the window is very operating system dependent and can Zoom grab whatever's being displayed there and pull it in. And I've had mixed results with that. I've had very good results with going to screen share to the advanced tab and then pick a video. But there's a couple of limitations, and I put in the chat the article that talks about playing those videos. It has to be MOV or MP4, and it only will use the H.264 codec. And as long as it's that, you can play it and play it just fine. What I tell everybody that's thinking about doing that or has complained, I tried to play this thing and it doesn't work. test every video in advance.
Are you,
Go into Zoom and play it. And if it doesn't play, you could use one of these fancy tools that Mike's talking about to convert it. But if it plays, it plays.
are you saying that if I can play it on my computer and I can see it and I hear it on my computer, that I should be able to do the same with Zoom?
No,
Or are
not
you saying
necessarily.
Zoom is
I'm
different?
saying create your own personal private Zoom meeting and use that to actually do a share screen. And if that works, then it'll work. But your own computer, when you go to play in whatever video player you use, it may do multiple different codecs that Zoom won't actually handle. So always try it in Zoom before you really need it.
Pete?
Reminds me of something. We had, I was working another event. We tried to share a video, screen share it to Zoom.
Mhm.
They could see it, but they could not hear it.
I think that's a checkbox problem.
Checkbox in Zoom?
Yeah, in Zoom, when you go to share something, over on the right-hand side, there's two little boxes. You want to check and that's where the share the audio is.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah. What Lois is talking about is share sound is the box.
Okay,
Yeah.
got
You
it.
have to make sure, because again, by default, Zoom is not smart enough to necessarily understand that it's a video being played by default. I just wanted to say one thing that just on what Ray was talking about when it comes to the YouTube videos as well. It just came to my memory that actually the codec that YouTube does use is not H.264. So that could be also another problem, because they by default, because they want to reduce the amount of bandwidth that everybody sees the videos using now, they actually use their own VP9 video codec. So again, in the case where Ray was talking about that, you would need to make sure that it's an H.264 codec within the actual file. That also could be the issue where Zoom is not understanding the VP9 codec.
So as a solution to this, what would y'all think about going to the site, going to the YouTube, sharing, starting it playing, and then using the Command Shift 5 key to record that thing. And then it would be a file on my screen, and it wouldn't have any different codecs because the recording would be done by my computer. It would be an MOV when I got done. What do you think about that?
That is a codec. Your computer has codecs too.
Right, but I mean, it doesn't matter what the file of the original thing is, because it's just seeing it and recording what's on the screen.
I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is no matter what the source materials codec is, your Apple computer is going to record it as MOV or some variant of MP4.
Yeah. What do you think about that solution, Frank?
It'll work. I mean, that means that you have to do it in advance though, right? Not live during the meeting.
Yeah, it's 7 minutes. That's okay.
I haven't ever had a problem sharing anything off the web on Zoom.
Yeah, I haven't either, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It's just, I haven't been so unlucky, I guess, at this particular point, as you guys have been, Lois.
The folks who regularly, every week they have a singing thing. Well, you can't sing with each other on Zoom, but you can sing along with something else. And so they go and they get their favorite recording of some song or other, and they play it, and then people sing along. And they occasionally have run into songs that won't play. And I'm assuming it's because of copyright issues.
Off the web or locally?
Off the
Off the
web.
hard drive or off the web?
Off the web.
Live off the web? I don't know. It could be like a JavaScript or something on the web page or something, but I mean, generally speaking, if you download a file that has HTTP built into it, you're going to have more problems than if something's playing on the web. Usually, otherwise, screen recording wouldn't work. Like that's called the analog hole, which is basically if your screen converts it to pixels and if your speakers converts it to sound, your computer usually can capture it, and if it can capture it, it should be able to transmit it.
Okay. Well, you guys have given me a lot to think about, and I'll have to go back to the folks who are having the problem and see what they could do. And it may be that they just didn't understand.
Can I ask
stuff.
you a question?
Sure.
If Zoom was closed, would the file play on their computer then?
Yes. Oh, yes. They play it. They hear it. No problem.
Using
It's
some
all-
other piece of software. I'm just wondering, remember at the beginning of the meeting, we talked about in Zoom's settings for video, how video is encoded, like DirectX and all. It could be something related to that, not necessarily HD copy protection.
Okay. So if they're playing the thing and then they share screen, the other people can't see it, but they can continue to see it. That would be one thing. If when they share screen, their computer video goes black also, that would be the copyright problem, right?
I don't know if Ray's still here, but I'm sure Ray would say the same thing. I'm gonna say, yeah, I see it, Ray. Sorry. Your box moved out. I didn't see. Really, if anything's important enough that you want to demonstrate it during a live meeting, practice ahead of time. Like,
oh yeah,
you should already know what's gonna work and what's gonna not work before you actually click on the button. So join the meeting 30 minutes early with the people who need to present and make sure, or even better, a day or two ahead.
A week
and make
before,
sure, and make sure it's all going to work before you try and do it live in front of people.
Yeah. We're definitely going to do that. And we got a request from someone to have this thing shown, and I assumed it was going to be a share screen and they would just have it on the monitor in the meeting room with the other people. And I woke up in the middle of the night going, oh my gosh, they may want to use a projector.
So now you're getting into a whole different topic, which is HDCP. So when you're presenting to a projector in a room or to a television, all of those things know about HDCP, which is a handshake between different devices, and whether or not they're allowed to especially if recording's involved, if something's being recorded and being presented at the same time, a lot of devices won't. They'll show a black screen, or they'll even shut off sometimes.
Well, if it were just projecting, that would be no problem. I know how to do that.
But when something in the chain of the display signal is also recording, it detects that, and then it invokes HDCP protection.
Yeah, and we're not recording. It's just.
All right. Even sometimes some devices, if you have the capability to record, will detect that as well.
Yeah, my problem is if you have to do both the projector and show it to the people who are on Zoom. I'm going to be fine. I've got another week and a half to figure it all out. It's just I woke up panicking. Anyway, thank you all for a lovely discussion today, and it was lots of fun. I'm glad we're here.
Thanks, Lois. And again, thanks for testing on using the Zoom phone as well. Okay, Jeff, you've been very quiet, but you've been very vocal in the chat. If you want to pop in and say hi to everybody, by all means, if you have any questions.
No questions. I just thought I'd pop on and see how your discussions went. I think I ran across you the other day when I was finally getting around to checking out ZoomOSC and BitFocus Companion, and because of this earlier event, I was going to see if I could last minute set things up, but I did not have a time when we were setting up this very quick event. That was that 400. That was that 400 plus person 3-hour event that we did.
Right. Yeah. That you were talking about with David Paskin and Ray about, So the text was how long? You said it was thousands of lines?
I think it's about 4,000. I mean, this is 3 hours of people discussing things and asking questions. And so.
Right. So there was definitely a lot of texts that were flying by as
that's why I was like, doing the Zoom scrolling on your phone, that's not going to work. I mean, the screen recording of scrolling on your phone. I mean, you can try it, but I would not recommend that path to review your Zoom chat. I mean, if it's short, sure. Like, your meetings might be fine.
Right. And I think, Pete, that was related to your question, right? When it came to chatting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the best thing is to do an automatic recording with the cloud and then copy that somewhere and make it available to people. You know, that we just, when people are on a mobile device or, you know, tablet or an iPhone or a phone or something, we just say, look, send us a note if you want a copy, we'll send it to you.
Right. And it's just more or less, it's an offline copy, or you mentioning Dropbox, correct, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, we actually make it available for members on our website in spots. And there's a few where I'm actually going back and modifying it and synchronizing it to the video too, but that's a different problem, a different situation. But yeah, we do make it available so they can either download it automatically or we can just send them the file directly. But yeah, we use Dropbox for storing the recordings and things as one source in addition to the, you know, hard drive backups elsewhere.
Right. Yeah. And that would be the next topic to talk to Tony about, of course, is if, you know, in theory, you should actually have 3. So you got your local copy, you've got a backup copy, and you got your offsite copy.
Right.
So that would be the ideal situation. And then, of course, Tony then would not have to worry about, you know, ever necessarily running out of space locally, of course. But then, of course, we could also talk to Tony about, you know, network attached storages as well, which gets into a whole other can of worms.
I think what David was saying was kind of like Zoom can, you know, be recording to YouTube, or you can use YouTube because YouTube has private channels and it also has published and unpublished content. So if you had, you know, Tony was saying some of the things were private. I mean, depending how private, but I mean, you could put something on YouTube that's unpublished and nobody could see it except for the account administrator. So it would be like free storage, really, like a cloud storage. If you never intend to release it, you know, then I guess it's free storage in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
But also
Lois?
don't depend on it.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah, exactly, Jeff. Yeah, go ahead, Lois.
So if one is in a situation where their computer is getting so full of these recordings, instead of buying a lot of storage or buying stuff online where you got to pay a monthly fee and subscriptions and all that stuff, you know, you could just buy another computer with as big a computer as you can afford, and then copy over your existing computer to the new one. And then you'll have all of those files there and use that as your backup. And then you can erase things off the computer you're going to use, and there you go.
I would never do that.
I know.
External hard drives are a lot cheaper than buying a whole computer.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, you have a choice to make. Like, if you want to keep everything, then it's going to cost you something, or, you know, there's not a lot of free places where you can upload content. I know in my situation, Microsoft OneDrive gives each of us 5 terabytes of storage. There's other places, but I mean, online storage either costs money or it costs you something. If you're not paying, then you're the product. They're examining your files. They're learning about you, their demographics, just like Facebook and, you know, Google. They don't do that out of the kindness of their hearts. They're getting value out of letting you have free services or storage.
What does YouTube get out of letting me store my old shows there?
They probably train their LLMs on it for one thing, but they also get large language model. It's what the back end of what AI is. But I'm you know, they're getting, you know, I think YouTube has ads, right? Unless you pay a certain amount. So the advertisers paying for you to use YouTube. You're not paying, but advertisers are paying. But you're paying by watching their ads, or at least they hope you're watching their ads. You may not pay attention to them, but it's very transactional. It's not free, and it's definitely not them being good I don't know, corporate citizens or anything. They're doing it for a purpose.
And so it sounds like Tony's church could have a YouTube channel where they publish the sermons, but they have private, unpublished other things, and that would allow a lot of space. I don't know what their limits are on YouTube for that sort of thing, but it's still a lot of space.
Currently, right now, YouTube does not have a limit on space. for content because that is where they make their money. But what Tony would just basically have to do is every time he, again, depending on if it's private or public, and depending on if you want to have it listable or not, those are the 4 different caveats on YouTube. So private versus public. So what Tony could actually do is automatically have everything go in as private. So YouTube is recording it live privately. Then what he would then have to do is go in after that, since it was private, next would be to make sure that Google does not add it so that it can be searchable. Right. And that's where you'd have to be honest. I think the term is unassigned. I'm not sure if it's unassigned, but I believe there is a YouTube term that will make it so that it's not searchable as a searchable video that you could actually search in their actual YouTube search engine.
Another thing you can do is, it depends how rapidly you need access to this content. So, I mean, things like Amazon, they have, I think it's Amazon Ice, for example, long-term storage for data, but you have to upload it. And then if you need the file back, you have to download it, and it can be quite a long time before the file downloads and reconstitutes. But I think it's pennies per probably terabytes, or like it's very cheap anyways. But it's not immediate, so you have to think about your use case. Do you need to be able to play that file today, or can you wait 2 days for the file to download? But I mean, it's very cheap storage if you have something that you just need to archive for a long time. There's other services like that too, right?
Yeah. And of course, I'm curious on Jeff, because considering I'm going to assume that you definitely make music. So I'm assuming you go through storage like water.
Well, we actually host, our typically about 3-hour events fairly often. Like we have another one tomorrow. And so the music is one side, and 3 hours of audio is still a lot of audio, even in 32 kilohertz mono, which is, I believe, what Zoom records in the cloud. So that even could still be several gigabytes once you add up the hours, and especially multiple tracks. But the video is what's taking up the space, right?
Of course.
I mean, especially my H.265 edited versions of these videos will be about 8 to 10 gigabytes.
Sure. We used to record about 120 hours a week of video.
Right.
And
it just you decide that that's what you have to support, and we're a longstanding nonprofit organization that is about trying to preserve part of our history in addition to advocating and educating, and so it's important for us to actually make sure we save these things and have the space.
Of course. This isn't something I know anything about, but maybe Tony could talk to people who are in the worship AV community. Maybe there's grants and things for churches, and maybe you can get grants to help do things like digital archiving and stuff, like, I don't know, the Ford Foundation or some other foundation. I'm sure there's groups out there that have money that goes unclaimed every year because nobody thinks to apply for the grants, right?
Right. And again, chances are it is a little more different in the US than it is up here in Canada. I've been involved with some of the church organizations up here in Canada, large church organizations here in Canada. And a lot of the time, the problem ends up being that the churches don't get a lot of the government funding that they should. And again, a lot of the organizations usually have to pick up the slack in that regards. But in the US, it is
have a bake sale. I don't know.
Have a bake sale weekly. Yes.
Sorry.
And then, it's called Buy Tony a Hard Drive Fund. That's right. Exactly.
I mean, depends what you're trying to do. It always comes down to what you're trying to do. If you're trying to keep the history of something for 50 or 60 years, that's a big undertaking, and you better think about, do we need all of it? Do we need samples of it? Do we need every sermon from 0 minute to 3 hours, or do we just need samples that represent what this person was like and what their accomplishments were during their tenure? So I know for us, we archived a lot of stuff where we kept samples of people who no longer worked there or who had passed away, but we didn't keep every minute of every recording. it was enough to have an hour or two to demonstrate what they were like and what their, the way they did things. It gave you a sense of them. You didn't need to have every minute documented like it was for a court case or something, right?
Right, right. Lois, go ahead.
Off topic.
Off topic.
Off topic, yeah. We have our little tiny church, the David Friends meeting, is a Quaker church that got started in the 1960s. And so I am now on the IT committee, and we are trying to figure out how to digitally archive all of the records that we have from the 1960s till now, and they're mostly print, and and then there's some photos and things, and even that little tiny bit when it's not even video is a challenge.
I personally would outsource it, but there's
but we don't
companies
have much money either.
well, then, there's only two ways to do it. You either, for example, I'm very familiar with slide scanning, and you can do it yourself, or there's bureaus you can send it to, and they do it for pennies, but it still adds up after a while. It still costs money. The other thing is you get a group of volunteers and you train them all, and every Saturday they show up, the volunteers, and you archive for 2-3 hours, and you do that every, for a whole year. And
that's actually our plan, is to go out and buy a machine that will do scanning.
I would buy a few if you want to go faster.
Well, fast isn't the problem. It's the money for the machines. So yeah, it's going to be cheaper to do that than it is to hire someone to scan. And a lot of the documents are older and fragile, and handwritten little notes and things, something that you can't just put in a machine and go and machine feed it through.
So there are archivists, there's museums, maybe make an appeal to a local museum or to a higher education institution. There's people who have expertise at libraries and other places.
Genealogy Society. Yeah.
Lots of people have expertise in this area, and they could, maybe come and give you a 30-minute presentation over Zoom to give you, some best practices so you don't wreck everything. But if you don't have any money, then you're going to have to roll up your sleeves and get busy yourself, I guess.
And the three of us on the IT committee have already decided that we are going to have work parties. We'll learn how to do it ourselves, and then we'll have work parties, and one of us will be there to teach everybody else. So
I know where I live, all high school students have to do volunteering as part of their education. Yeah. You might reach out to local schools and say, hey, do you have anyone who wants to get their volunteer hours by helping us? That's a source of labor maybe once a year, but there might be regulations and hoops you have to jump through to make sure the kids are safe and all that sort of thing too.
Well, anyway, as I say, it's an off topic, but that's what our group is for, is to talk about lots of sort of things. So archiving Zoom, that's going to be a challenge. My sympathy.
Definitely. It's an interesting situation.
At the end of the day, it's a video file, right?
In the end of the day, it is a video file. And yes, the most important thing to compress from Zoom's videos, or Zoom's files, I'll be more specific because it has audio and video in it. So from Zoom's video files, the best thing to actually make sure you compress without losing any quality will be the actual video portion of it, which is changing the video codec from the current default of Zoom's to a more higher res. I guess higher res is not right word to say, but it's basically the codec.
More efficient.
Yes, thank you, Frank. Yes, a more efficient video codec that will reduce the amount of space, but yet have equal quality of the original that you got from Zoom.
Well, there's in any of these kind of projects, before you even start, you should determine what your needs and goals are. Do you need everything to be in original size? Like, does it have to stay 1080? Does it have to stay 720? What's the purpose of why you're archiving this? Can it be reduced in size? Does it have to be full quality? Can you reduce the quality? What are you doing with this in the future? those kind of things have huge impacts on your file sizes, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So Pete, how was your week? Was it good?
It was good. It was easy.
It was easy. We like easy. Easy is good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a suggestion that is the stream and recording still going?
Yeah, we're still live.
Are we gonna talk anything more related to Zoom or around Zoom, or are we done that part of the show for now?
I believe we are pretty much done, unless I'm just going to ask the Zoom community in chat here momentarily to see if there's any other further questions without chat being upset with me here momentarily. Here, let me just 1 sec. Go ahead, guys. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right there. And I'm
No,
just
I mean, like
gonna
if we're done, then once we're done, I want to ask you about the Earth show. But I mean, it's not really
Oh,
related. It's not
right.
related to Zoom or anything tangential to Zoom, right?
Yeah, no, but it wasn't interesting. If you wanted me to get into the tech end of it, I did do a little deep dive into that, but I
I
can.
mostly want to know if you had a good time. That's all I
Oh.
was looking for.
Yeah, no, well, watching it was good, but again, we can go into the live stream technology that was used if you want. So I did let everybody know because we do still have some people watching us on YouTube, so I just want to make sure that
Well, their
we
computers are still going. They may have wandered away.
yeah, they might have ran away from us, but we're still here. We're still here. So yeah, so if you want to chime in any other last minute questions, I let you know in chat. So please let us know in chat. While Frank and I talk here quickly. So basically,
Been almost 3 hours.
It is, yeah. We're still almost live for 3 hours. We're going to get to that 3 hour mark, and I think we're going to can it at that particular point. But basically, the live streaming portion of the Canadian International Air Show (CAIS) was well done this year. There was a lot of issues that they had for users. It was more because of the fact of there was a lot of traffic going to their main website. So their web server, web hosting provider that they were using, not their streaming provider, but their web hosting provider couldn't handle the traffic of all the people going at X specific time at the start time to actually connect up to the website. So that was one of the problems. But if you did get there and you're a lucky soul to actually connect up to the website, you would have been able to see the live stream without any issues. The technology that they actually ended up using was the content delivery network, more specifically that they used was Millicast. If you're familiar with Millicast is one of the originators of doing live streaming using WebRTC technology, which is similar to what Zoom uses for us. So the Canadian International Air Show, in their wisdom, decided to use Millicast. And of course, Millicast currently is now owned by a very important company that probably a lot of people have heard of called Dolby. Dolby has actually bought the Millicast content delivery network. So long story short, in that regards, the Millicast end of it was great. The hosting provider for their main website couldn't handle the traffic that was going to it. I did see on average, especially during the live, the important events, which was the American planes when they were flying, and also our Canadian snowbirds were also up there. So during those times, I specifically looked to see how many people were watching. And they had almost 3,000 simultaneous people watching online. So it was pretty well done. All 2 days. The third day, they did not live video stream. So there's still a bit of a question mark on why that didn't happen, but the audio stream did occur. So that is a bit of the question mark of the third day, why they did not live stream the third day. But okay, everybody seems to be fairly quiet on YouTube. So I will sign us off on YouTube. And don't forget, everybody, that We're here every week on Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can check out the Zoom Test Kitchen to see what David's got cooking up in the kitchen next week. Until then, take care, YouTube.